Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have a beach crafting marathon for you. 30 different coastal or beach Dollar Tree DIYs that I've done here on my channel. Now, in case you haven't heard the bad news, Dollar Tree has decided not to bring back the shore living line this year. I have no idea why. I think it's a terrible decision. So what I've done is I have done some shopping and tried to find some alternatives to some of the shore living products that I use in today's video. Hopefully you have a stash to craft with like I do, but let's get started. For the first DIY, you're going to need a medium-size anchor wood sign. I found a 3-pack available on Amazon, and I also found that they have the individual ones at Walmart, even in the store. I will post shopping links for all the products that I recommend from Amazon today, and I'll try to link the Walmart items too. There were a few things I found at Walmart. This is the one that I'm going to use from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. Everything else in this DIY, though, is from the Dollar Tree. I wanted to make a great wreath for my door with a shell-encrusted anchor hanging down in the middle, and I think that this is going to be so much fun.
Okay, so what I did was just pop off the little starfish that was on there. It just fell right off. It was so easy. And then I'm using the little bottled shells, the real tiny little cone shells. You know, I thought those were the smallest ones I have, and so we can make this work. I already have a starfish that came on it, so I'm going to go ahead and put it right here in the bottom. And what I want to do is try to encrust this little anchor with shells all over. Now, I was really worried about what type of glue to use. I didn't think hot glue was going to hold up on my front door outside in all of this Florida humidity. So I thought I would try tacky glue. I've had a lot of luck before using the pebbles and stuff like that with a thick layer of this tacky glue from Dollar Tree. And you know I always try to stick with Dollar Tree items, so we're going to give it a go. I'll keep you posted. I've already got this hanging on my front door, so hopefully it holds up well. I was trying to think, I kind of wanted to use like some silicone or something like that, but I just didn't have anything and I did not really want to go to the store. So I'm just going to start sprinkling those little tiny shells all over. These are so tiny that I don't use this size very often, but I thought it would be great for this because you can just sprinkle it on there. And as you saw, I did a rather thick layer of the tacky glue first, and just making sure they're all like push down into the tacky glue, and we can keep doing that. Now, it was a little trial and error with this because I've never really encrusted something with shells like this before, like this, so I thought we'd give it a go. I'm going to go ahead and do the middle and the other side too, just putting a nice thick layer. The tacky glue works well for me because it's so thick and it dries clear, so I think this is going to work well. So far, so good. So I'm just going to keep sprinkling, just trying to cover most of it. It is that raw wood underneath, so around the edges and stuff, if you're going to be able to see that, I think it's going to be fine. And I thought I wanted to leave the raw wood because I thought the shells would glue better to it, rather than trying to paint it or stain it or something like that first. And I'm really not doing any kind of a pattern. I am just grabbing the shells from that bottled shells. I like to organize mine in one of those little toy organizers from the Dollar Tree so I can get to them a little bit better. And so I'm just going to keep moving along the anchor, just putting down more tacky glue and sprinkling the shells on. I'm going to go ahead and cover up the holes on the side of the anchor because I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use like the little circle in the top for the hanger, kind of like what they did on Etsy. But I'm going to go ahead and cover that part with shells too, everywhere I can. And this part was actually really easy to do. Now I got to this part and I was thinking I'm probably going to need like more glue, right? So I was thinking you know, can I put tacky glue on top of this since it dries clear? It did say it dried clear on the package. Now, this was kind of a mistake because when I put it on there and start, you know, trying to spread it out with my paintbrush, you can see all of my shells are moving around because I did this before I let it dry. I shouldn't have done that, but I already had it on there, so I kind of had to make it work for that section. But I was like, you know, I need to like let this set up a little bit. So what I did is I dried it with my like heat gun, and then I actually put it in the freezer to cool it off because it was really hot, and it set up really nicely. You can see how much easier it is to glue on top with the tacky glue now that I actually let it dry first. So I just go over all of it with more of the tacky glue. I usually use that spray adhesive, but since this is going on my front door, I really thought I needed to try to pull out the big guns with this. Now, this is the wreath ring that we're going to use. This is the large 18-inch one from the Dollar Tree. It's not going to give me that round like you would get from like a pool noodle, which is more like what hers looks like. Hers looks like, you know, an actual foam wreath form, but they don't have large ones like that from the Dollar Tree. So we're going to try it with this and see if we can make it work. And I'm going to use some Dollar Tree burlap. I love these burlap rolls. If you're not lucky enough to find this one, you could also use the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree as well, or you can get burlap just about anywhere. I used to always get mine at Walmart before I was able to find it at Dollar Tree, but I find it really hit or miss at Dollar Tree. I think people like to wipe it out, but I love it because it has that nice finished edge on it, and I think that just helps keep things look cleaner. So we're just going to simply wrap this around. This kind of looks like what they did to theirs, and hers looks like a burlap and rope like life preserver or life buoy. And so that's what we're going to try to do with this one. And then we can hang that little shell encrusted anchor down in the middle of ours as well. I usually, you know, try to find inspiration for projects. I do not like to copy projects, but when I saw this, I really, really liked it. And I was like, you know, I bet I could do that with Dollar Tree supply. So I'm just going to try to dupe it if I can. So that's how far one of the package goes. Goes pretty far, right? So I'm going to start another package by hot gluing it on to the back and then keep wrapping, and you won't really even know where you started and stopped. Just have to let the hot glue dry a little bit there to secure that in place and keep wrapping all the way around. And we have our little burlap wreath. So that step's done. That was pretty easy. Now the next step, it looked like they use like white nautical rope for like the 4 parts of the life. I always call them life preservers, life buoys. And so we're going to do something similar. I'm going to use the 6-foot white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And we are going to wrap that around. So I'm just going to get it started by taking the tape off the end here. And I'm going to start by just hot gluing that to the back. I'm going to start here because that's kind of where we started and stopped, just to kind of cover that, seal it all in a little bit, and hot glue that to the burlap on the back. And then we can just simply start wrapping this around. This was such a cute design. I've made several of these like life preserver or life buoy wreaths over the years, but I've never made one exactly like this. I really, really like the design. So I'm just wrapping them. I'm just wrapping it. I'm not gluing it or anything like that. I just glued to the end. And then I just trying to feel about how many I want to go. I think 8 is going to be really good for the size of mine. I did try 10, which is what it will look like with 10. And I thought that was maybe a little bit too much. So we're going to do with 8. So now I'm just going to cut it here on the back and glue that end down as well. Now, since I am kind of gluing those in place, I do want to get them on there kind of like equal distance from each other. And that pretty much took an entire 6-foot rope from the Dollar Tree And so I'm going to go ahead and start a new package. So 4 packages of the white nautical rope to do this large wreath, and 2 packages of that Dollar Tree burlap. So I'm just going to go straight across and loop it around 8 times, hot gluing down the ends, trying to like do it in the same exact place that I did it on the other side to try to help with my spacing. And that looks good. We're going to hot glue that down. And make sure both ends are secure. So now we just need, I got both sides done there. I just need to do the top and the bottom, and we're going to do it exactly the same way. So about halfway between those, I want this little section to be. And we're just going to simply hot glue that down and start wrapping this around. Hey guys, I had the craziest thing happen to my channel the other day. I was on Google Images and I searched like coastal something, I don't remember. And I was looking at like Google Images to try to get an idea for something. And one of my profile pictures came up for one of my coastal videos. And it kind of made me smile. I always like it when I see my content in Google, search. And when I looked at it, it did not say YouTube underneath of it. It said Ganjing World, which I guess is kind of like maybe a copycat YouTube. And I clicked on it. It took me to a video, which was my video. And it was loaded with a channel called DIY for the Beach, where someone illegally downloaded hundreds of my coastal videos from here on YouTube and uploaded it to their channel. DIY for the Beach is what it was called, over on Ganjing World. And even my profile pictures and everything. I mean, that's why I detected it, because it had my profile picture and I recognized it, right? And I had to go in and copyright strike all of those videos, like hundreds of them. Doesn't that make you mad when somebody steals your stuff and tries to market it as their own? I was so upset, but I did contact the copyright department there and told them this was a major problem. And within the next day, they took down the channel. They took down all of the videos. So we solved the problem, but holy cow, how crazy is that? So if you see my content out there anywhere and it's not me, be sure to let me know, okay? Okay, so I need to attach the anchor. I just took some twine, tied a knot at the end, and I thought I would just loop it over the knot like that to hang it down inside the little reef, kind of like that. I wanted to hang it with 2 strings like that so it would hang even, like dangle down inside, but I kind of want the knot to be hidden back behind the reef. So I think that is going to work. I'm just going to hot glue it back there so it kind of stays in place, right? And then it looked like they used rope for their hanger, and I think that would be really cute as well, like the brown rope from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to try to do that too. So I measure it out. I kind of make mine a little bit too long, but that's okay. It's better to be too long than too short, right? I'm going to take it and tie it together like that, and then reverse the knot. I always forget what this knot is called. It's like used a lot with nautical designs, but you basically reverse it and you tie it on top of each other like that. It provided a nice like little slip knot, but you can kind of tie it whatever way you want. And then I'm going to string that around my anchor, so I can kind of loop that around and tie it kind of like I tied the anchor on there. Like that, by pulling one under the other, hiding the knot kind of behind the back, just like I did before, and make a big loop. Now, as you can see, that was probably a little too long. So what I did was I untied it, retied it, cut it off a little bit shorter. And I like that, the way that looks better on my door. But basically, that is the last step in this DIY. It turned out so cute. I love it. Isn't that pretty? I think it turned out so well. The shells really glued down tightly to that anchor. So hopefully they will stay in place.
And they totally have. That is my go-to method for gluing down shells, making shell encrusted items. This is how it turned out. It's a really nice large wreath and it looks so great on my front door. You can leave this up all summer. It goes with so many different themes. Really, whenever I take down another wreath, I always put this one up because I love it so much. Now for the next DIY, you're gonna need some small wood animals, ocean animals, and you used to be able to get them at Dollar Tree, but I found some available on Amazon.
I'm going to use some of these little wood boxes from the Dollar Tree, 4 of them. They have the little like metal file folder like holders at the end. I just needed 4 tiny little squares. So I think they have these in a couple sizes, but basically you could use whatever you had. You might even be able to use one of those like crates from the Target dollar spot if you can't find these. But I just picked up 4 all the same size, and I thought we could put it together and then use some of those little shore living ornaments to make a cool little coastal shadow box. So I'm going to start by gluing them together. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and wood glue, kind of a short-term, a long-term hold on those, and just kind of glue them together, trying to make them square. I'm going to make sure that the holes where the little file folder things that I removed are kind of pointing towards each other. So I will glue those together and I'll have a beautiful like wood finish on all of them. So once I get the top 2 together, I just glue the whole thing together. And these were remarkably a square. They fit together really nicely. And now we have a really like large shadow box that we can decorate. I was going to reinforce it on the back with popsicle sticks, but I found that it didn't really need it at all. Now, the wood on this is really pretty inside and on like around the edges, but the actual like front of the frames are that like unfinished like MDF. So I do want to paint those. So I am just going to go through and tape off everything that I don't want to get any paint on. And then we can go in and paint these blue. The color that I'm using there, I think is the Caribbean blue. These are just acrylic paint, and I'm going to go in and kind of use my chunky brush to kind of give me that coastal like vibe, but I'm going for about as good coverage as I can get. I want to do like the inside of each box where it's at like unfinished MDF wood and the fronts as well. And it's gonna make it look beachy with this beautiful like Caribbean blue color, but it's also going to cover up that part of the wood that's not pretty and just leave all of the pretty ones. I don't know why they don't kind of finish that off completely. I guess these are supposed to be like little bins, but we're going to use them for frames. So going over, trying to give like a nice like coastal farmhouse vibe on this. And then we can dry it and remove all the painter's tape. Taping it was probably the hardest part of the whole process. But it did a pretty good job. And doesn't that look cool? Because it's got like that rustic blue with like the wood coming through. Very coastal with that like light wood background. Now, these are the little ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use like 4 different ones. They have these every year with the shore living, and I was able to find them again this year. And actually, I had 3 of the big ones, and I decided to do some smaller, some of the clothespins for the 3rd one. These little fish. Now, I like popping the clothespins off of these, but you got to be careful because sometimes they're like really glued down, and you're going to end up, like splitting your wood or breaking it in half. So you might want to use a little bit of heat first. I was just going right after it to try to get that off. But I really like these little tiny wood cutouts. I kind of wish they wouldn't have the clothespins on them because, I'm not really going to use them like that for a lot of applications. Now, I do want to fill up the hole in the starfish, the sea turtle, and the little seahorse. And so I just used hot glue to try to fill that in. You can use spackle. I never really know what works best, but one of y'all told me to try that, so I did. Now we're going to paint our little ornaments. The little starfish has like little circles on it. I kind of wanted just the plain side, so I'm painting the back. And then the sea turtle and the seahorse, and I was able to get 2 of those little fish off of the little clothespins. And I found that you could still kind of see the holes, and since it's kind of a display piece, I really didn't want you to be able to see the holes in these. So after painting, I did notice that it still needed some filler, so I did go back and spackle them. That's the only thing I like about the ocean creature wood ornaments that I get on Amazon, is that they don't have the holes in them. And you could still see the holes after my spackle, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get serious with this one. So I decided to try covering it up with some masking tape. Sometimes I have luck for that. I don't know. Maybe I just don't fill my spackler enough, or like give it enough time to dry. But we're going to try the masking tape method because I really don't want to be able to see that hole. And I have filled it twice with glue and with spackle. And I'm painting these with that ivory chalk paint, so it's kind of thick. So I think that I can cover up like the depth of the masking tape, and it'll kind of make it blend all in. That is my plan anyway. And I think I finally got good coverage there. And then I want them to look, a little distressed. And so I am going to use some Antique Wax by Waverly to distress them slightly. Just want a little bit of a tan distress on there. So I'm following that up with a baby wipe to get it just how I want it. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of them, just kind of working in one direction. I always like to use those little chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree, and then a baby wipe to kind of blend it in. It's going to give us that distressed look and not quite so stark ivory or white. And I just kind of want like an even level of distress on all of them. If you don't think it's distressed quite enough, you can always go back in. And if you distress too much, you can always go back with your original color too. Don't be afraid to try to do it. It's actually pretty easy. But sometimes it does take a couple tries to get it exactly the way that you want it. And now we can put it together. I'm going to do my 2 little fish here, like kind of swimming in a school. It could be really cute if you had 3 too, but the boxes are not that big. And I chose these little crates because they were square. I thought that would look cool. And here is our little starfish. I just hot glued that one in there. And our little seahorse on this side. And our little sea turtle over here. I finally got the holes covered in those. I think I should have started with the masking tape first. Now, I wanted it to look like there was a little fishing net, but the fishing net from the Dollar Tree, this is the kind they have in the summer section. I'm not a big fan of it because the holes are kind of too big. So I kind of wanted to show you that in comparison to what I'm going to use. These are the little ombre tote bags from the Dollar Tree. If you see these, pick these up because look how good this material is to make like a tiny fishnet. It does have like half pink, half ivory, but we're just going to use the ivory. I'm just going to cut some out to make some fishing net, just to kind of display over on the side. I know that some of you guys have said to use like, I think the Dollar Tree has the little, no skid rug backers that kind of similar color and size that you could also use to make a fishing net. But since this is kind of more like a miniature project, I thought that I wanted a fishing net with more of a smaller vibe like that. So I just cut a strip of it out, and I'm just going to kind of hot glue it here on the back and just kind of drape it over the side just to give me a fun little coastal feel. Just trimming that down a little bit, and I kind of like that little effect, just kind of dripping over the side.
And I think it turned out so cute. What do you guys think about my little sea creature shadow box? Really fun. And I just did pick up the Amazon animals, the little wooden animals that I showed you at the beginning that I can use for crafting in case I don't have enough of the shore living this year. But they're very similar. Now up next, you're just going to need a Dollar Tree charger with like the fluted.
And I am going to try to make this into a coastal mirror. I saw something at Kirkland's, really expensive. Let me post a picture of what I saw. Here it is. It's a painted nautical rope wood framed wall mirror, and I thought that that was really cute, and I knew I could make this with just a couple items from the Dollar Tree. Do you see the price on that? Crazy. So we're going to make maybe a smaller version. So I am going to use a Dollar Tree mirror. This is just one of their round mirrors. I just peel the paper off the back, and this was super easy to remove from the frame. It was only attached with like 3 dots of like glue. So I think that's going to be the perfect size to fit in the middle of the charger. It's already got like a great color, but I want to do like every third one a different color, like kind of like what they did on my inspiration piece. And so I'm just going to start painting. Now, there is a little groove in between the little flutes of the side of the plate, so it makes it really easy to paint, stay inside your line, and not have to tape anything. So I'm just going to go every third with this color. This is Caribbean blue acrylic paint. And I'm going to leave one that existing color of blue with the black distressing on there because I think that looks really pretty. And yes, I did go around and count every single one of these little sections of the plate to make sure it was divisible by 3. And yay, it was. So this was super easy to do. So I'm just skipping to painting every single one Caribbean blue. And then we're going to go in there and add another color. I really appreciate the fact that this was easy to paint without having to tape it for sure. And I think that color looks really nice with the blue that's already on there. So I give that a quick dry, and then I want to go in with like a driftwood color, and I don't really have any paint that color, so I'm going to kind of make it by mixing a little bit of ivory acrylic with some antique wax by Waverly. I love that finish it gives. I use it a lot. Just trying to mix it until I get it the way I like it. And then we're going to go in and paint every third this driftwood color too. So I just pick one. I'm going to do it right next to the blue one. And make sure you get your paint dry. You don't want them like bleeding into each other. And I'm just using a small brush from the Dollar Tree. And you have to go over it a couple times, but I don't really want great coverage. I think it's going to kind of add to the distressed element of the piece. And this was probably the easiest DIY we did today. This was really easy to put together, and it turned out so pretty. I just love it. So every third, we're making a driftwood color. And I do want to kind of go over the whole thing with a little ivory to distress it, just to give it more of that coastal farmhouse vibe. So I'm just using a chunky brush from the Dollar Tree and just kind of pulling it away from the edges to distress the outside edge. If you get a little too much on there, you can always blend it or wipe it a little bit with a baby wipe. I also go in and kind of pull from the inside too, just to kind of distress that inner edge as well. Now here is the mirror. I think it's going to fit in there really nicely with enough room to do a rope border like they had in there. So I'm just going to put down a lot of hot glue here to make sure this mirror stays in place. And there is my camera. So we're just going to make sure that is glued down well, and then we can add the rope to this project. I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. I decided on the thicker one. You could totally get away with the smaller one as well. I kind of went back and forth whether I wanted to do 1 or 2 rows like they did, and I ended up going ahead and doing 2 rows. So I'm just going to pick a place to start, and we can start gluing that around. Now, I do kind of want to burn the fuzzies off first, and so that's what I'm going to do. And I kind of end up burning the fuzzies off of all of this because it was a little rough. Once you get it in there, you're not going to be able to clean it up at all. So that's always an important step, especially on something like this mirror where I don't want a lot of fuzz happening to block the mirror. So I just do a bead of hot glue, and we're just going to start doing like one section at a time. I am gluing this up against the edge of the little charger plate. And if you do like a quarter at a time, you can kind of still work with your hot glue while it is nice and wet. And we're going to do that all the way around. Now, honestly, the one piece of rope really almost filled the entire seam. There was a little bit of a gap, and the original piece did have 2 pieces of rope to go around the inside, so that is why I chose to do another row. So I'm just going to start at the bottom, the same place that I had the seam on the first one, just to kind of make it consistent. And we're going to glue that all around. You're getting some behind the scenes action with this mirror. You get to see my lights. You get to see my camera. So we glued a second row of rope. Now, the original Kirkland's piece also had like a row around the edges, and I want mine to truly be on the edge. And so I am just doing a bead of hot glue directly on the edge of the charger and gluing that to it. That's going to frame it out really nicely and give it that same vibe and look as the Kirkland's one. And just like before, we're going to do like one section at a time to make sure that our hot glue doesn't set up on us. And I don't want to get too much on the paint. Do have a few little strings, but all I got to do is kind of peel that off the mirror and clean everything up, and we should be good to go. I do the seam at the bottom just like I did the other ones, and that's going to be the bottom of my mirror. It's super cute and very lightweight, so I think it's going to be easy to hang because, again, the plastic charger is just a lightweight plastic plate, and the mirror is not very heavy either. So just cleaning up any excess hot glue and trimming off any of the fuzzies that are still there. And we have a mirror. I think it turned out so cute. Very coastal. I just flip it over, and I'm going to make a super easy hanger just by taking a loop of twine and tying it to itself there at the end to make a little hanger for the back. It's going to be hidden back here. I'm going to attach it right to the middle of the charger. And then since it is a mirror, I wanted to give a little extra reinforcement back there. So I'm going to take some burlap from the Dollar Tree and just glue that on top of the knot just to secure it a little bit, but I think it's going to be fine. And we did it. We have our first shore living DIY, this little coastal mirror. It's so cute. Just need to clean the mirror. And here was the starter inspiration piece from Kirkland's, $200 on sale for $150. And here is the one that I recreated. Let's see, for $3.75. Pretty good deal.
And I think it turned out really pretty. Now, you don't have to have that blue charger. You can use any of the color chargers that you can find at your store because that was a shore living charger in the blue. Now, for the next DIY, you're going to need a little resin starfish. I get mine on Amazon, and I have those linked, and a jar and some twine, and you would totally be able to recreate this great little jar from the shore living line at the Dollar Tree.
I just picked up a clear one for this one and a little votive candle that I had from Dollar Tree. And this is going to be so easy. We're just going to fill it up with some Dollar Tree brown sand. It could be brown or white, really. And then just kind of work our little candle down inside. So cute. It's got like the twine around it with the little white starfish on front. And I just kind of display it with some of my existing decor. I had some coral I put up on a little shelf and one of the little Dollar Tree starfish as well.
And again, this would be really easy to recreate using some of those resin starfish from Amazon. Any jar, any little jar like this wrapped in twine. You could even use a food jar, I think. Now, subs for the next DIY can be just one of these wood signs from the Dollar Tree. And for the beach word, you could use the galvanized metal letters from the Dollar Tree.
I'm going to combine a couple of the shore living items together. One of the little shore living signs. What I want off that is that galvanized metal word that says beach. So I'm going to try to just remove that with some heat and my little Cricut spatula. Trying not to like rip the paper or cause any damage to the sign. And we got that off. Now, I do want to use the sign though. This is a shore living sign. Doesn't matter which one, because we're going to cover it with one of their little canvases that they also have in the shore living line. They have this one again this year. They also have different ones. You can kind of go with whichever one you like the best. I love crafting with these little canvases. I always like to kind of remove them from the canvas and DIY them into something a little bit more finished than an framed canvas. I'm just trying to, I started with like staples, just trying to remove that. And then I was like, it might be even easier just to try to cut it off. So that's what I did mostly, is just use my razor blade and try to cut that off the back of the frame. Kind of a combination of that and my pliers. And then I realized my box cutter actually did a better job of popping those staples out than my pliers. Just want to free it, but I also didn't want to cause any damage on the sides because I want to frame this out with that Dollar Tree Shore Living sign. And so I need as much fabric with that pattern on there as I can because the canvas was definitely smaller than the photo or the frame. So I'm going to start trimming this down to size, cutting off that back part with the staple holes and the white. And then kind of measuring to see exactly how big I need this canvas to be. And then I'm just going to use the frame for a guide and my razor blade and start cutting this down to size. Basically, it was like I needed all of it except for the very back part. So you can kind of like just cut along the fold for the very back part. That's why I was kind of glad that I did not mess with the sides at all because I definitely needed them to fill up the frame. And this is just a great way to frame one of these cheap little canvases from the Dollar Tree very inexpensively. And I also have that galvanized metal beach word that will be really fun as well. Now, I was kind of worried that you were going to be able to see this through the canvas. I'm not sure if you really could, but just in case, I'm just going to go over the whole thing with some white just to kind of give myself a blank canvas, just some white acrylic. It can be as crazy as possible, doesn't really matter. Just trying to mask that because sometimes when I Mod Podge stuff on, you can see through it. And that's what we're going to do is just attach it with Mod Podge. I'm going to do like a rather thick layer of the Dollar Tree Mod Podge. Doesn't matter which one you use. You're not going to be able to see it. We're just using it for the glue. And then we're going to lay our canvas on the frame and smooth it down. Now, you could try ironing it from the back maybe to get those wrinkles out. I'm trying to like just smooth it down the best that I can with some baby wipes. And that also cleans up any Mod Podge that might be like kind of pouring out the sides. I was able to get it down pretty smooth, but I am going to decorate it a little bit as well. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, you might want to iron it because there definitely was some wrinkles in it when you do this method. I just made sure that all of my corners were like really glued down and that this was going to stay on there. I also just used my scraper too. And then I kind of wanted just to finish off the edges just because my cuts were not completely perfect. And I thought that the jute twine would give it another little coastal touch. This is that thicker jute twine that I get at Walmart by the roll. But you could kind of use whatever you have. I like this because it's thicker than most of them that I find at Dollar Tree. And then it is a little rough though, so I'm just burning off all the fuzzies on those. I cut one down for each side, and then we can just attach those to kind of frame it out a little bit. They'll kind of sit inside the little wood frame, but also cover up the seams of our painting. I do go over the whole thing with another coat of matte Mod Podge just to make sure it stays down. And I didn't want this going anywhere. I may have excessively Mod Podged it down. But it turned out really good. And so now I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue along the top edge and just put that jute twine in there. And that definitely covered up my seam. Little trick you can do when something looks a little imperfect like that. And anytime you can use rope or jute or anything like that, it's going to give you another little coastal touch to your DIY. Just one side at a time, just gluing those down. And it's already looking a little bit better. Now here is the little beach word that we took off the sign. I don't want it to be the galvanized metal. I kind of want mine to kind of look like driftwood. So I mix a little ivory paint with some Antique Wax by Waverly to give me this pretty like tan color. And I am just going to paint it working in one direction, kind of giving it like a little bit of a wood grain. It's okay if some of the metal shows through. It's going to make it look even more like coastal. And now we can glue this back to the canvas or to the picture frame, this time with a beach canvas in between. And I think this looks a lot better than it originally did. I love this painting of the beach. It totally looks like the beach here in Vero Beach. Now, the hanger was like not straight at all on this. I'm not sure what they did when they were putting this on. So we're just gonna remove this and do our own thing. I have this little sawtooth hanger that I pulled off the canvas. And so we'll just use it instead. These are great because you can just nail them into the frame. No little tiny screws or anything like that to try to mess with. Now, this is the decoration part I was saying that might cover up like the little fold there in the bottom, the little wrinkle. I'm just going to use Dollar Tree seashells, and we're just going to hot glue those all along the bottom. I try to pick out like a variety of shells and colors. You can find some really good seashells from the Dollar Tree, but you can always use the ones that you have from the beach. I really tried to choose some unique ones to kind of fill it all up. And it's going to give you a fun little decoration for a little beach sign. Now, I took those two items from the Dollar Tree. So, like, very inexpensive way to DIY this. And then I have that Market Pantry bag that we used for the shadow box. I'm just going to cut out some more of that fishnet just to kind of get another little decoration for our little beach side. And I like to use the pink part too for Valentine's Day, for coastal like Valentine's Day. And I'm going to kind of drape it along the side on this one as well. I think that looks kind of cool, and it provides a fun little finishing touch to this DIY. Just going to hot glue it here on the back. Just kind of swag it down the side. Isn't that cute and beachy? I love how this turned out. It's one of my favorites. The painting is nice and bright, and they have so many different styles. I think I have like maybe 6 beach paintings, all completely different. And this is how it turned out. This is how it looks hanging in my dining room.
And the beach canvases don't seem to be an exclusive item to the Shore Living line. I usually find them year round just by digging through the canvases in the home decor aisle of my Dollar Tree. Now for the next DIY, you are going to need some starfish. If you don't have a stash of the Shore Living, there's some available on Amazon in resin, or these are even the real ones if that is more your vibe.
I've seen like a bigger globe with like starfish all over it. I thought maybe I could try to create my own. It was a little bit more challenging than I expected it to be. And it might be because I'm not really using the right kind of glue for this project. I tried lots of different options and you will see. But for now, let's just free all these starfish. I'm going to leave them white. My first attempt was hot glue. And basically, I want to kind of stagger these all over. I got them all on there and they started falling off. So I was like, you know, the hot glue, the glass, this is never going to hold up. So I tried E6000 on it and I couldn't get that to work either. It was just too slippery the way I had it. So I'm going to try something I found at the Dollar Tree, this multi-purpose cement. I am determined I'm going to make this work. So a lot of you guys like it when I show you fails. So you're definitely going to see some fails here over and over on this DIY. So I put a little bit of that cement in the middle of all of our starfish. And then around that, I use hot glue. So I'm going to use a combination of hot glue for the quick hold and the multi-purpose cement for the long-term hold. Now, I had this out in my Florida room for the past year, and it did hold up relatively well, but probably only from a trick that I'm going to do at the end. So that's what I do. I use the multi-purpose cement from the Dollar Tree in the middle, surrounding that with hot glue, and we're just going to glue these all around. This actually gives out a really cool pattern when you have it lit because you have like little starfish pattern like all over the walls. So it was worth doing, just a little tricky, trying to find a way to attach to the glass. Do you guys have any tips for that? Maybe I should have used sandpaper on the side of the glass a little bit to rough it up. Not sure. But this is how I kind of stagger them on there. I do one row along the bottom and then I do another row on the top. Stagger to the first one. I had it all on there. I still was unsure. So I said, you know what? I will just do like a little DIY fishnet to secure them all together, and it's going to add to the coastal feel as well. So I just wrap some Dollar Tree twine around in a row, tying them all together, and I do the same thing here for the bottom row. And making your own fishnet is pretty easy. So I have those 2 rows, so I can start from those. Now I do another row like right in between. So I have a total of 3 that are going across. Now it's the fun part, time to start stringing them up and down. So I just tie that to the rope there, go underneath the middle one, tying that as I go, and I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around until I kind of have like a fishnet pattern. It wasn't what I originally intended, but I really thought this would reinforce it. And if any of the starfish decided they wanted to fall off, like they want to fall off for sure, the rope will secure them in place. And it worked. Eventually, right? Sometimes you see a project in your head and it just doesn't work out on paper like you think it's going to. But I just keep stringing rows, starting on the top, tying it off and going all the way down. And I even wrap it around. You can see on the bottom that I wrap it around to the other side, kind of giving a spiral pattern on the bottom. A little bit less cutting that way. And this is how it turned out with our starfish all over. A little addition of a fishing net just to help reinforce that because I didn't want those falling off anymore. Now to give a base for my candle, I'm just going to put in some Dollar Tree sand. Some of the white sand, doesn't really matter what kind. And then I'm just going to put a little votive candle down right inside. And this looks so cute when it is lit. Gives that great starfish pattern all around, but just a fun idea of something that you can do with those starfish, but again, a little challenging with the gluing them on part.
So if you don't have any shore living starfish, again, I will have the Amazon link for the resin ones I see on there. I haven't tried those in the large ones like that, but I have tried the real starfish and they're really nice.
Now, this one I couldn't decide between a wood round or a charger. Now, I wanted to show you that because you could use either or. What we're going to do is make a really fun coastal tray. And I'm going to make this for my Florida room too. It can go on my coffee table out there. And I think it'll look really cute. The reason I chose the charger is I like the size and it is plastic on the bottom. So I think that's going to work nicely with the table, the plexiglass table that I have out there that shows my shell collection. Oh yeah, my husband made that too. And I'm going to build the sides of this. I'm going to make it into a tray with handles. And I'm going to use some of this Dollar Tree white rope. This is I think it's the 6-foot white rope. It is the fairly wide rope. And I thought we could build up the sides, go all the way around with the rope, kind of making it look like a rope basket with some rope handles. Now, this is a charger plate, and so you do have a little bit of room here on the bottom. So I'm actually going to start my rope on the bottom and kind of sandwich the top rope and the bottom rope around the plate, kind of securing it in there. And it kind of takes away the appearance that it is a plate and not a tray. So I'm going all the way up to the edge and overlapping about halfway on the rope over the edge so that I can sandwich that together with the rope layer that I do on top. So I'm just using hot glue and I just work like a section at a time to make sure that I can get that glued down before any of that hot glue starts to set up. And since I want the bottom of mine to be flat, I'm just going to go around one time and then cut it down to size. That way it will be nice and level here for the bottom. And this charger that I found at Dollar Tree is great. It kind of looks like Driftwood, but you know what? You're not going to be able to see it in the final project, so it doesn't really matter which one you start with. Now, I don't have enough of that original rope left to go all the way around it again, so I'm going to go ahead and start another package. But from here on out, I can keep going on with the same piece of rope because I'm kind of all working on the same side now. So just starting where I started before, I'm kind of lining up my seams in the same area. I'm going to start gluing that to the edge of the top of the charger plate and also gluing it down to the rope underneath, just sandwiching the plate in between. I don't really want any of the plate sticking out. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way around this, trying to work with the hot glue while it is still warm so I can, make sure I get a nice circular shape. I don't want this to look all crazy in the end. So that's kind of how I'm squeezing the ropes together to kind of hide that seam. And I'm glad that I started that way. I think it made it turn out way better. I was trying to think what I could use for the sides of my tray. I thought about building them up with Jenga blocks, but I didn't really think that was necessary. It could just be a lot of extra work. So I decided to try rope, and I really like how it turned out. Now I'm not gonna cut it here. I'm gonna keep going with that same piece of rope, just trying to get the seam as tight as I can when I start the next row of rope. And from here, I don't have anything with the plate to attach it to. I just have to glue it to the rope underneath. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm working a section at a time, making sure I shape it as I go to make sure that it's glued directly on top of the one below. And I'm gonna go ahead and start a third package of rope here. And this seam's not going to line up with my other ones, but that's okay. There's going to be a seam every now and then, and you can hide them pretty fairly well. And I go around one more time here with row. And then cutting that down to size and finishing that off. I think I've got like enough rows to give me a nice side for our tray now. And so now we can make some handles for the side. I'm just using that same rope, kind of seeing how big I need my handles to be. And I'm going to knot the ends. It's going to keep it from fraying. It's going to give it a fun coastal touch. And it's going to give me something to glue to the outside of the tray. So I go ahead and tie a knot in both ends, kind of testing out the length and cutting that down to size. I go ahead and tie another knot. And I'm going to tie the other handle at this time so I can try to make them the same size. Just adjusting it until I get my knot in the same spot so that I can trim this. And we'll have two even handles. Now I do have like the seam area from where I started on the bottom of the tray and for when I started at the top here. So I kind of got a lot of seams here, so I'm going to kind of take advantage of covering that up with the handle to kind of disguise that a little bit, gluing that on to the outside of the tray. And then I'm going to loop it up to provide a nice handle. And this is, you know, surprisingly strong. Like you can carry this tray even filled with lots of beach goodies and, the handles totally are functional. So just on the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing, just gluing those down, kind of flush with the bottom of the tray. It is looking pretty cute. I'm just going to clean up any excess hot glue I have, and we can decorate this. Now, I don't really want it to look like a plate. I want it to look like a tray. And I want it to be beachy. So I got some of this brown sand from the Dollar Tree. You could also use the white. That will look really cute too. And we're just going to start filling in the bottom of our tray with sand. Again, I'm going to use this on my coffee table out in my Florida room, but this would make a great centerpiece as well. As you can see, one package of the brown sand is just not really going to cut it close. So I do go ahead and have to open up a second package. And I decide to fill it in and make it look nice and sandy like the beach. And then from here, we can put all kinds of beach goodies in here. I want to decorate with a lot of the shore living items that I found. And some of these things you can win in the contest today. So be sure to stick around. The giveaway is coming soon. Okay, I'm going to start with just a couple pieces of driftwood that I picked up from the beach. Just some random shapes, but I think they'll fit in there fairly well. Just to give a little bit of a wood touch. You could always use sticks if you didn't have any actual driftwood. And then these are the little monkey fist, like the jute balls from the Dollar Tree. They also have these new ones this year. Look at these. Aren't they cool? They are like the little globe shape, but they're also wrapped in twine. They have those in brown and white. And you know, every year they make these little jute balls a different size. You can see the size difference on those. And they also have a small and a large of the little globe ones. I'm going to just start scattering stuff in here and arranging it and see if I like it. These are the Shore Living sand dollars. And the shore living starfish is so cute. And we're just going to start filling this up. I want this as filled with beach goodies as we can find. So I kind of keep adding to it. I'm going to start adding some seashells. Some of these are from the Dollar Tree. Some of these are from the beach. And I'm just going to start kind of scattering those around and filling this up. This is all about trying to make your eyes happy on this one and just keep decorating, changing things until you're happy with it. Thought we would add maybe another little starfish. And a few more seashells. And I do work on this for a little bit to get this exactly the way I want it. Next up is some of the Dollar Tree sea glass. My favorite is the light blue sea glass. The only bad thing is that you only get a few pieces in a package. I also have some of the jute twine balls, so kind of switching those out to see if I like that better. And then one of these little ceramic starfish from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree too. I think that'll look nicely in there. I love the texture on that starfish. And I think that would provide like a little fun pop of color right in the middle. And just arrange yours until you're happy with it as well. I got it pretty good. And then I decided it needed a few more, so I'm just adding some more seashells. I also add some more sea glass. I just kind of want it to look like as full as I can, and I totally can't decide what I want to do with those. Now, I love the starfish, and I just don't really love the color, so I think we could paint this guy. This is some Dollar Tree paint. I think it's called tea green, but it gives you a nice beachy blue color. I kind of like it. It's a little thin though on this ceramic starfish, so I do have to go over it a couple of times to get pretty good coverage. I don't care if a little bit shines through. I think that'll make it look a little bit more distressed. Once that's dry, I'm going to use a makeup sponge and some ivory to bring out that texture just by rubbing it on there. Be careful that you don't wipe off your original paint like I did, but you can always go back in and touch it up. But I think it looks a lot prettier than it did before. That's just not my color of blue that it was before, but this is my favorite ceramic starfish they have at Dollar Tree right now. So I think that looks really good like that. Still adding to it. I told you I wanted some more sea glass, so I'm going to pick out some more of those colors. I like the light blue and I like the white, but I don't really like the bright blue or the green. And what do you guys think about this? I think this looks really cute. I think this is going to look so cute out in my Florida room for summer with lots of little fun things to look at. There it is.
And this is how it turned out, our little DIY tray. Really versatile. You could do this with the brown rope as well, but it was fun displaying all of my little sea treasures in this. You could kind of mix and match whatever you have in your coastal stash. It can be treasures you found at the beach or whatever you can find or have left over. Now for the next DIY, you could always substitute these little wood houses found at the Dollar Tree for the shore living ones.
We are going to make a little coastal shelf to go on the back of my toilet for my beachy bathroom. And I'm going to make it out of 2 of these little skinny wall shelves from the Dollar Tree. You could use these, you could use craft wood, that would work as well. The reason I liked these is because they're really thick and I think they're going to hold up well, and they actually have. On the back of the toilet to hold things and give it a little decorative touch as well. So 2 of those together is like the exact size of the back of my toilet. And then I'm going to use 2 of these little houses from the Dollar Tree Shore Living section. And then I also had one left over from the Target dollar spot from one of those little tier tray starter kits, I think. But you could use any of these other options from Dollar Tree as well. They have so many house shapes. I like the fact that my houses are going to be different sizes, and I like that they're all a little bit different color. I do like these little houses. The only thing I don't like is that little foam glitter sticker on there. I think we can do better than that. You got to be really careful when you remove these though. I'm just hitting it with a little heat from my heat gun and trying to pull it off as carefully as I can to get as little damage, because that paper on there will rip. But I love these little houses, the little on beach time, and it's a beach thing. I think this is going to look good in my son's bathroom. Trying to clean up a little bit of the adhesive, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up anyway with something a little cuter. I'm going to use a Dollar Tree seashell, a little tiny starfish that I get on Amazon, and a Dollar Tree sand dollar for the other house to cover the star that was on there. I think I got that it was for 4th of July, I think. So we're just going to glue down the little Dollar Tree sand dollar. Looks really cute on that little house. And I kind of wanted it to look like a row of beach homes on the back of my tray. So we're going to glue down the little Dollar Tree seashell, and then this is a little tiny starfish. I get those on Amazon. Those are always linked in my shop below. And then I'm going to kind of put this all together. The first step is attaching these two together. I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue all the way down and glue these together. And got really lucky that the size was exactly what I needed. Now I also got some Dollar Tree craft wood, so we can kind of make this into a tray. So I'm going to cut this piece down the same size as that sign and just remove the tag on there. And that is going to give me the back side of my tray, and I can just attach it kind of like that. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue all along. And I didn't use any wood glue at all on this project, and it is held up perfectly. It's very sturdy. And this, as you can see, that Dollar Tree craft wood is pretty thick too, even the thinner kind. And then I can line my little houses along the back of it like that. So I'm going to take another piece of that same craft wood, cut it down to size, remove the tag, and we can put that on the front. Now, I'm going to leave it like this raw wood. I think that's going to give me a nice coastal vibe. It's okay that it's a little bit different finish from the shelves. It's going to make it look more unique, I think. So I just glued the front part of the tray down just like the back. And now I have one more piece here. I can cut down sides for these. I'm going to go end to end on the sides. Kind of sandwich that in there. That way I can just glue that to the end. So I'm going to go here on the other side and cut down another piece. So super easy, just a little bit of hot glue on the two sides of the frame. And we're going to sandwich that in there up against the bottom of the shelves, where everything is kind of square, kind of flush. And we're going to get this cute little tray. Who knew that a tray was so easy to put together, right? Okay, now it's time to make this cute. I want to use those little houses. 2 of those and 1 of this little one fit in there just really nicely. I kind of like the 2 big ones kind of next to each other and the smaller one at the end. Then I thought I should do a little fence all the way around to make it look like a little shore fence at the beach. And so I'm just going to do that with popsicle sticks. So I'm not going to bother cutting like a fence post, like a point on it or anything. I think I'm just going to use like the arch that's already on there. I think that'll be really cute. So I'm going to use that one for reference, and we're going to go through and cut down a bunch of these. 2 size. You can definitely get 2 out of 1 popsicle stick. And I'm just going to cut down enough to go all the way around like all 4 sides. It's going to provide like a decorative fence touch, but it's also going to make the sides of the tray a little bit higher and make it a little bit more functional. So I thought I would give myself kind of a little line here to kind of look like a little wire connecting the fence together. I thought about actually stringing wire around them, but I thought I just kind of wanted to look a little bit of a line, not so much the actual wire sticking up. So I just kind of lay mine all on there first so I can kind of get my spacing the way I want it. I'm not going to measure anything. We're just going to start gluing those on all the way across. Isn't that a quick, a simple fence? I thought that was really easy. And it's going to give you that same raw wood that we used that's in the craft wood, so it goes together nicely. We're just going to leave that raw wood as well. This toilet is kind of like right next to the shower in this bathroom, so it is going to have a little bit of moisture going on. So I definitely want this to be as sturdy as possible. And then we're going to just start hot gluing our little houses to the back of that craft wood. And they don't have too much of a roof line on there to worry about the two next to each other. They just fit in there kind of like a glove. That looks super cute. Then I was thinking, you know, I really do need to keep doing my fence all the way around. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut enough popsicle sticks just for the sides. And I'm going to go ahead and do a double amount so I can do the other side as well. And same thing, we're just going to glue them, kind of spacing them out just by eye. And I love working with popsicle sticks because they're so easy to cut. You can just cut them with some heavy-duty scissors. Okay, check this out. We got our little tray for the back of the toilet. And, you know, I kind of thought it still kind of needed that line around it, and I didn't think you could really see it with the paint. So instead of wire, I thought that really thin twine from the Dollar Tree might work. And so I just glue that to the back and wrap that all the way around. And I thought that was the final touch. This holds like all the things that are like normally on the back of the toilet. And I'm just kind of gluing that down in front so it kind of stays in place. But that's going to also help hold all the popsicle sticks on there. But again, I've had no problems with this falling apart at all. It's the perfect size for some toilet paper. And this is how it turned out. Isn't it super cute? I love it. It's decorative and it serves a purpose.
And I've been using this now for a couple of years in that bathroom. It's held up really well to the humidity from the showers. And, you know, bathroom life, you can pile just whatever you need more storage for on the back of this. And it is working out just great. I love it.
I used 2 of the little shore living jars, a piece of craft wood, some battery operated candles, and 2 of these long shore living signs. I'm going to use the Seahorse one and the Anchor one. Not a big fan of the color on the Anchor one because I want more of a beachy coastal feel. So we'll change the color on that one. But what we're going to do is, I'm not a big fan of the long signs, but we are going to convert them into little wall sconces, and it's turned out so cute. So I'm going to need a little shelf to put my little jar candle on. So I'm just going to cut that Dollar Tree craft wood down to size and make a cute little shelf. And since we're making 2 wall sconces, we're definitely going to need 2. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a second one down for later. So I'm kind of trying to determine how big I want to make these, where I want to attach the shelf, because I don't want to include the entire long sign. I just want it to be long enough to make a really cute wall sconce. This DIY would be great for indoor or outdoor. I used mine indoor, but it would be great outdoor too.
So I cut that long sign down to size that I thought would be a great size, and then we're going to do the same thing here with the second seahorse sign. So we have two signs the same length with those cute little cutouts in there, and two shelves that we cut out of a piece of Dollar Tree craft wood. Now, this is the one that I was not crazy about the color at all. So let's go ahead and start distressing this to make it look a little bit more coastal. I'm just starting with ivory kind of all over to cover up that like deep blue color. And I wanted to do something, you know, beachier. So we're going to make this a lighter color of blue. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the shelf too, since I'm going to want everything on my little wall sconce to be the same color. And this is the color that I'm using. I think this is the turquoise color. Just a nice, bright, beachy blue color. And distressing all over, I kind of like that distressed vibe because it looks very coastal farmhouse. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to do the same thing here on the little shelf that we made. And this craft wood is really thick, so it's going to provide a nice sturdy shelf, even though the sign that I'm attaching it to is, you know, not too thick. It's one of those thin Dollar Tree signs. So it's going to need a little bit more stability, so I am going to do a wood block underneath of it. I happen to have some of these little Jenga blocks from Five Below, but you could use like any kind of a piece of wood. I just want another piece for under there, so I painted ivory and then turquoise so that it matches everything else. Now I want to decorate the bottom of this with twine, so I just glue a little Dollar Tree twine to the back of our sign and wrap that around just until I'm happy with it and glue that to the back. That's going to give it a fun coastal beachy touch with that wrapped jute underneath our little shelf. So I have the craft wood for the shelf, and then this one is going to be the brace that kind of goes under it that makes it sturdier. I attach that to our sign with hot glue right above our jute twine, and then glue the shelf on, also gluing it to the wood block underneath of it to make it nice and sturdy. So this is what we have so far. Since I am putting a glass shelf on there, even though I'm using a battery operated candle, I want it to be super sturdy. So I just take a few screws and go in the back of the sign into the wood block to make it a little bit sturdier. So that looks good. We can go ahead and reattach to the hanger that came with the sign. And now I want to start the construction of the second one the same way. This one is the seahorse cutout, and I love that like wood color. I think that really looks beachy, so I think that one's going to be fine as is. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the first one. We're going to wrap it with the Dollar Tree twine just a few times, securing that on the back. And we're going to build this one the same way. Since I am not really painting it, I'm just going to leave the raw wood raw. I think it's going to be okay. I glue my little Jenga block down first, and then glue my shelf on. This one was even easier to put together since I didn't have to paint anything. But you could paint it. It would be pretty if you did it like in ivory or a different shade of blue too. I'm going to display mine together as a set. So I'm going to put a couple screws in the block in the back on this side too, just to make it sturdier. Then I'm going to use like the turquoise colored Shore Living jar with the little starfish and twine on it on the wood one. I like the contrast of the blue against the wood. And to make sure it stays put, I hot glue it to the little shelf that we made. And then on the turquoise one, I'm going to use the clear Shore Living jar against the blue one and glue that in place as well. I'm just going to use battery operated candles in this to make it even safer, but they turned out so cute. Now to start with, I thought a little sand would be good in the little candle holders. It's
going to add another coastal beachy touch. Try not to get it everywhere like I did. And then pop in some battery operated candles that are going to be super easy to switch out when the batteries die in them. Aren't they cute? We have 2 little wall sconces using signs from the shore living line at Dollar Tree. And this is how they look, all lit up and hanging in my home.
Now, if you want an option to substitute for those long board signs, if you can't find them, you might be able to find just the ones that don't have the cutout, or you could also use the wood shelves from the Dollar Tree. And I think that would work really well too. It'd be a little thicker. Now, the next DIY, I'm going to show you how you can just take one of the shore living signs if you have one and make it look a lot better. I love this one. I think it's so pretty.
And the little seahorse is burlap. He's adorable. I love the colors. I love everything about it. The only thing I don't love about it is that it's a cheap, thin Dollar Tree sign. So we're going to make ours way better. I'm going to use 2 of the longwood signs. I'm going to use bunny because I have it left over from Easter, but they also have the seahorse ones in like this that you could use as well. We're going to need 2 of those. We're basically going to make a larger wood sign to go behind their sign, or we can layer them together and make a thicker, more substantial sign. And it's also going to kind of look like framed out and stuff like that. So if I put the 2 together like this, the 2 bunny signs, and then layer a little coastal shore living beach sign on top, I'm going to kind of estimate how big I need this to be. And then I am just going to take these little long signs to my saw and cut them down to size. You know, those signs are pretty thin. If you didn't have a saw, you could probably cut that with a razor blade, a couple of cuts through there, I would think. But I cut mine with my saw, just sanding down the edges a little bit. I kind of like the rustic feel of the cut. I decided to do one kind of raw cut on each side to kind of break it up. Now, these are not thick enough to glue together. These are very thin signs. And so to put the 2 signs together and to make it sturdy, we're just going to use some Dollar Tree popsicle sticks to make little braces that go along the back. They're nice and thin. You'll never really know they're there, but they're definitely going to serve their purpose. Now, they are so thin that you can't like staple or anything like that, so definitely going to have to use hot glue to put this together. So I like to do as many braces as I can when I do a project like this. We're going to do 5. Just because, you know, those thin signs from the Dollar Tree, they can warp or be different, you know, be going different directions. This is going to help keep everything flat and square. And, you know, combining it with the other Dollar Tree sign is also going to help with that. So there's our braces. Now we have our larger wood sign. Super easy. And then, doesn't that look cute? It like frames it out. I mean, because I love the existing sign. I just wanted to try to find a way to make it better. So the first thing we're going to do is hot glue it down, trying to use as much hot glue as I can here to make sure that it is secure and flat and all the edges are pretty close to the wood behind it. I don't want like any gaps or anything like that. Oh, I'm so happy with these new signs. You know, I've spent way too much at Dollar Tree on the shore living line. I need to stay out, but oh my gosh, I love it. You guys know. So now I'm going to take a piece of twine, tie a knot on each end, and I can use a staple gun now because what I'm going to do, I already have the 2 signs together. You could use hot glue for this, but I'm just going to use my staple gun and staple a little hanger kind of on the back, just something, it's going to be like a little hidden hanger. And this is a pretty lightweight sign, so it doesn't need a whole lot to hold it up. You could always do that step with hot glue if you needed to. Now to frame it out more, we're going to use some Dollar Tree nautical rope. We're going to use this white one. I thought we could do a fun like knot border frame on this one to frame it out. That's also going to make it thicker, more substantial, and just add like more texture and depth. I just tie a knot in the end of my rope, and we're gonna hot glue that into one corner. Now, you do kind of have to pay attention to what direction you're tying your knots. This one has like the rope kind of coming out on the top, and we're gonna do that kind of along the sides. Trying to make sure that I have that one secure. Hot gluing that down and then tying a knot here on the other side. So I'm trying to go like the opposite direction here so that the rope is coming out on top on the side, but coming out like below on the top, if you know what I mean. And so I tie it off, tighten it right where it'll be at the corner, and then just attach that knot with hot glue as well. And if you tie it and it looks like it is opposite or wrong, before you tighten it, just undo it and you can redo it again. So in this one, I want the top on bottom and the side on top to kind of make it symmetrical with the other side. And then I glue that knot down and come down and kind of tie the opposite knot here on the other side. You kind of have to think about which way you're tying it. And then that is exactly how I want it. Up on the side, down on the bottom. And now I just need to glue that down, then cut the remaining rope long enough to kind of go all the way over to the other knot, kind of make it look like that is part of that knot, if you know what I mean. And just hot glue that down. Now, the ropes on the side kind of stick out a tiny bit because they came out like on top. And so I'm going to hot glue those down to make sure there's like no gapping or anything like that when this is hanging on my wall. Now, the only thing I have left is I don't really like the holes in the original sign. And so I thought it'd be fun to take some of these little tiny starfish. I get these on Amazon. They're always listed in my Amazon shop below. Look, I thought that would be the perfect little touch. Pick out like a little starfish to go over each hole. And it's going to add a tiny decoration and it's going to cover up those annoying holes. So just a little dot of hot glue and a little delicate tiny starfish. You can see those kind of multiple colors and that I kind of sort mine by size, but they all come together like that. Sometimes they all come really tiny like this, but sometimes you can get those larger ones in there. It's kind of varied. It's kind of, you never really know exactly what you're going to get. And we're done with our come with me to the sea sign with our little burlap seahorse and the rope frame. I love how this came together. I think this would look great in my home year round. I'm trying to decide where I'm going to put this one actually. I have coastal in every room of my house.
Of course. So I have lots of options. But I think it took this Dollar Tree sign and it made it so much fancier. I really love how this one turned out.
One of y'all told me that they also have the burlap stretch canvases in the 8x10. And I went to Dollar Tree last night and I found a whole case of them. And I swear I only bought half of it, but I wanted to buy the whole thing. So I picked up that and an 8x10 frame from the Dollar Tree. Doesn't matter which one, because we're going to paint it. But I thought we could make a very quick, easy shore living DIY with that little sailboat wall charm from the Dollar Tree. Anytime you do burlap with like white on it, I love that for a coastal feel. So I just take apart the frame, pop out the glass. We're definitely not going to need that for this. I want the bumpy texture of the burlap. And I love that there are standard sizes to go in picture frames. So I just mixed Caribbean blue and white together to give me a very light beachy blue. And I'm just going over this gray frame all over to make a coastal frame for it. Anytime I can frame like a canvas, I always like it better. I'm a big fan of these new burlap canvases. One of my last videos, I crafted with the 5x7 one, the small ones. I have a bunch of those as well, but I was really excited to find the 8x10s. So I'm also going to go around the edges, This doesn't really have an inside lip on the frame, so it's super easy to paint. I'm okay if a little bit of the gray shows through because it'll add to the distress a little bit, but I do really want it to be nice and blue, so I do go over the front of it with another coat. Now I want to distress it to make it look, coastal farmhouse. So I take a little white and a chunky brush, and we're going to do a very light distress all over just to kind of break up some of the blue. Give it that coastal farmhouse charm. Super easy to paint. Definitely, I picked up some more of these frames today because I'm sure I'm going to need them for all of those burlap canvases that I bought. So here is the 8x10 burlap canvas. I like these so much better than the regular canvases because I hardly ever use those for anything. But burlap is right up my alley. So it fits in there perfectly. I'm going to try it on to see if it fits. Just trying to make sure that the paint was dry. I didn't want to mess anything up. Now, I didn't really take the staples out of this, but you totally could if you wanted to get them out of the way. They weren't really in the way for me, so I just kind of left them in there, just standing straight up. But the burlap isn't going to stay in there, so I just do a small bead of hot glue all around the inside, the edges where the glass would normally sit. And just pop our little burlap frame in there. I said they were in my way, and then the staples were like a little bit in my way. You might want to pop them out. It might make your job a little bit easier. But super lightweight, the burlap frame and this frame. So I don't think that's going to be very heavy at all. And then I wanted to attach a little wall charm. These are so cute. This is the white sailboat one. They also have I think the seashell one I've crafted with. I love them. I don't really need the tassel and all the wood beads though. So I'm just going to use some pliers and pop that off. And it's just going to leave me with a really cute white sailboat that's lightly distressed with a little bit of wood showing through. So I thought that would be really cute displayed against the burlap. Very simple, just like a silhouette, right? And so I'm going to use hot glue to glue that on to the burlap. Kind of centering it right in between. I think that looks really good. I was thinking about you could put the back on it if you wanted it to stand up. You might want to paint it first though before you put it on there because it might be a little bit dark. But I decided just to use one of those sawtooth hangers that I have left over from the canvases and just put that in the back of the actual canvas. And I can just use that to hang it. It can be all open in the back like that. And this is how it turned out. Our little burlap canvas with the little shore living wall charm on there of the little sailboat.
Now, I tried to find a sub for the sailboat. I couldn't find anything exactly like this. You might be able to find something maybe on Temu, I'm not sure, or you might still have one. For the next DIY, you might be able to find the wreath form on a resale site like eBay or something like that.
Check out this cute little starfish wreath form from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. We are going to make a cute version of this that's a little bit different than any of the other ones that I've seen. We're going to use some of this 11-foot white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And at first thought you would think, you're just going to wrap it, but a star shape can be a little tricky to wrap, especially one with all of these rays going in kind of different directions. So what we're going to do is just hot glue the white rope onto the reform, just shaping out the shape of the star is what we're going to do first. So we're just going to bend that on the ray and just keep gluing that around. I thought we could cover all of the little metal parts with rope, and then we can further decorate it from there. I kind of wanted a little bit of color to mine, and so I'll show you how I did that as well. This reef turned out so cute. One of my favorites for sure. So just using that same piece of 11 foot, you're definitely going to be able to go all the way around here. And then you can cut it to size once you figure out exactly how long you need it to be. So that's our first row. Now we also have to cover up like this interior part. So just starting at the tip as low as you can go and gluing that up to the center. This first one I thought, you know, maybe I would go like straight across like that and cover up that little center section. Once I did it though, I decided I wasn't a big fan of that. So I am going to cut it and do like a separate piece for each side. Some of these pieces on the side are really short. And so you can just cut your pieces down to size. I just kind of measure mine first and cut it. That way all I have to do is put some hot glue on there and glue that down to the reef form. And you can kind of see the shape of this taking shape. Just a few more rungs and then we can start decorating this little guy. Now, whenever you hot glue to the reef form like that, you are kind of going to have a little bit of a hot glue mess on the back. You can clean it up a little bit with hot glue. I thought one of these little Dollar Tree sand dollars would be perfect to cover the center part there where it's kind of crazy, but they're a little gray for my liking. So I'm just going to paint mine with a little ivory acrylic first, just to brighten them up because I love a good ivory sand dollar. That looks way better. And look how cute that looks there. It's going to cover up all this like rough circle portion here. And it's going to give us a cute little center to our starfish. Now, I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to keep decorating. And these are the little seashells that come in the little glass bottles from the Dollar Tree that they have all the time. And I love these white ones with the little brown spots on them. I think they're just the cutest. So I just picked out a bunch of those. Even though those come in little glass bottles, I like storing them in those little toy organizers from Dollar Tree because they can be a little tricky to get out of the box when you're crafting. So I'm going to do like one at the base of all of my little short rows of rope there, kind of in a symmetrical pattern. And then about halfway down the little longer portions, also one at each tip. So kind of an all over with this seashell. You could use whatever seashell you have. It's going to be cute. But I really love this color. I think it looks really good with that Dollar Tree white rope. So just a few more here, and then I can show you how I decided to add a little bit of color to mine. It would be really cute as is if you had a colored door, especially if you had a blue door. That would be just beautiful. While I still have it open, I'm going to tie a little twine into a quick knot here just to make a little hanger before we get any further. But this is how we're going to add color. I'm going to use some of this beautiful light blue tulle from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. I find my Crafter Square, some of them carry this all of the time in a couple different colors. I thought this color would look nice, beachy, and blue. Now, the only issue with it is it's not very wide, as you can see, but we're going to make it work. You can always overlap it if you need be. I was trying to figure out how much blue I wanted. If I double it up like that, you're going to get more blue. And so that's what I decided to go with, was like a double layer of that tulle. So I'm just going to glue that to the back of my wreath form. One section at a time. That's going to cover up this part of the wreath. Just making sure it's glued down to all of the wreath forms tightly. Then I'm going to double up another row here and kind of patchwork this together. I decided to go right next to the one that I just did and just do a slight overlap when I attach this to it. And as you can see, two like almost fill the entire starfish in, but I do have a little bit left that I do have to cover still. Just kind of cutting up that little area so they don't overlap quite so much. And then just a double layer over here at the very tip of this starfish ray. Now that I have it all glued on, this is a good time to trim all of the excess fabric off of it. That way you know that it's all going to be covered and glued down tight. You won't have any holes showing through. And this material, super thin, super easy to cut. And it totally gave me that effect. And from the front, you can't even see any of the seams. So don't really worry about that if you have to overlap yours. And isn't that cute? I just love how the starfish wreath turned out. And I hope you do too. I hope it gave you some crafting inspiration.
And hopefully you still have one of these or you're able to find the wreath form. I did look for a substitute. I really couldn't find anything that is shaped like this. There's really a void in the market right now with Dollar Tree letting us down with the short living line.
Check out these little burlap stretch canvases. These are new. I've only seen them at my largest Dollar Tree, and I got a bunch of them, and I went there again today, and they have them again, and they're so great for coastal. I love burlap. Now, it's a 5x7 frame, so I thought, I could just buy a frame, and this is a new frame as well. They had this at my store with the Mother's Day, but I thought it looked a little bit coastal. It looks like a wood with like a white print on it, and I thought we could just simply frame one of these little shore living sand dollars and see if I can put all of these things together. I don't really like when the little sand dollars are gray, and these are left over from last year. Mine last year were a lot more gray than they are this year, but I'm just going to paint it with a couple coats of ivory just to brighten that up and make it look like sun bleached. What I want to do is mount that on the burlap. This is a really easy DIY. I wasn't sure though, because the frame, is not going to be deep enough for that burlap canvas, but I think we can make it work. So I take the back off and remove the glass out of the 5x7 frame, and you can use probably any 5x7 frame from Dollar Tree or wherever. And then I'm going to use my pliers to just pull out the little staples, because those won't work anymore for what we're doing. Then I was wondering if I could just pop like the little burlap canvas in here, and look at that. It is a perfect fit. So I think this is gonna work. Pretty cool, huh? Now I noticed that when I put the back on, even though it's like a light color of, paper, like wood paper, it looks dark. See how that looks darker in the center than it does around the edges? And so I thought, I want to use the back because I want something to be able to sit this on a shelf. So I'll just brighten it up a little bit by painting the back cardboard that same ivory color and see if that makes it a little bit brighter. So I just simply paint all over. I didn't really want to make a stand for this if I could reuse that. I also take some ivory and just distress the frame ever so lightly and follow that up with a baby wipe. I don't want too much distress, but I just wanted to add to that coastal vibe of the frame, which I think it kind of already has. So I think that looks pretty good. We can start putting this thing together. I'm just going to try to attach the back to the burlap canvas because the staples wouldn't go around this because the canvas is going to kind of be sticking out a little bit in the back, which is fine. You won't be able to see it. So I just hot glue that to the back of the canvas, and that actually worked out really well. That way I can still use the little thing to make it stand up, or you could use the hangers on there as well. I think I'm going to do it sideways. I think that'll look cool. I'm just going to attach the little sand dollar from the Dollar Tree with some hot glue right there in the center. And I love things like this glued onto the burlap. That's when I realized I am going to have to glue the burlap into the frame. I thought it was going to kind of stay put, but no such luck. So I just do a small bead of hot glue all around the inside edges and then glue that back down on top of the burlap canvas. And I think it looks really good, and this was so easy to put together. Here is our little burlap and sand dollar. 3 items from the Dollar Tree, just putting them all together, and I think it turned out really cute.
Now, there are sand dollars available on Amazon. Not exactly like this. You can get some real ones on there. I really couldn't find a good dupe for this one. Again, maybe Temu, but I couldn't find anything at Amazon or Walmart or anything locally, besides real ones, of course. And then for the next DIY, you're going to need a mermaid sign. And they do have this one in the crafter square. That's not part of the shore living line. You can kind of modify this if needed.
Okay, I'm gonna do a mermaid DIY next. I'm gonna use 3 long signs, just whatever I had left over in my stash, plus one of these little shore living swimming mermaids. Now, I've shown you several options for the mermaids, like with shells for tails, sequences tails, all different options, hawk Lewis tails. This one's gonna be the easiest. Not the most detailed, but I still kind of like it. I use it for my decor. It's simple, but easy. So first I want to make a very heavy duty sign. And I'm going to use 3 of these long wood signs from the Dollar Tree to do that. I'm going to put them all together end to end to just make a long solid sign that we can attach that mermaid to. But first I need to cover up all of the writing that's on there. So I'm just going to go over it with a couple coats of ivory so you can't read all of the writing back there anymore. I like DIYing with these signs because they're nice and heavy duty and they're pretty versatile. You know, when you can put like more than one of them together, which is what we're going to do for this DIY. Now, I want it to look coastal farmhouse, so we're going to distress. Working in one direction with some antique wax by Waverly, especially focusing on those edges and giving that faux weathered wood grain look. Gonna follow that up with a baby wipe and distress it until I love it. And I thought it would be easier to paint these before I attach them together. That way I didn't have to worry about any paint like going down in the cracks between the signs. And I'm going to follow that distressing up with a little bit more ivory just because I thought I made it a little bit too dark. Once I get it exactly the way I want it, I can start putting these 3 signs together. They do still kind of have crazy backs because they're like 2-sided signs, but I will cover that just to have a finished product so it doesn't look so tacky on the back. But I'm just attaching them all together with hot glue, just squeezing the signs together. And we have a nice coastal long sign that can stand on its own on my shelf. And this is what the back looks like at this point because they're all 2-sided. So I'm just going to do a quick, easy back cover with just some wood grain contact paper, just something cheap. And trying to cover up the majority of the back. I just used a sanding sponge to cut that along the top and the bottom. And I think that looks a lot better. Sometimes I don't bother with the back of my projects, but when it's something that I'm going to have out all the time, like I do this mermaid sign, I want it to look a little bit more professional. Now I do go in there with my ivory and also paint my sides and just kind of touch up my sign anywhere that you're going to be able to see. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's going to be a nice base for my mermaid. I wanted to do like a beachy blue mermaid. So we're going to use this little swimming mermaid. And I am saving the hanger because I'm actually going to use it on this DIY just to make things a little bit simpler. Again, this is probably my easiest mermaid DIY that I've done. I'm just going to mix some turquoise acrylic paint together with some water because I want to stain this kind of like I did with the Seahorse and bring out that wood grain. And I don't want to cover up all the mermaid scales because I want to be able to see where they are so that I can decorate it further. I don't worry about popping off the little starfish. I just went ahead and painted it because I can always go back and repaint it white. Sometimes I have found when I'm trying to pop those off, they break. So sometimes it's easier to leave them in place. I'm just following that up with a paper towel to wipe off the excess. And then again, painting that little starfish back ivory. And I'm just going to leave like the hair and the body and the tail, like all this beautiful blue color. It's not going to be like have the sequins or anything like that or any of the raised scales. I'm just going to draw them on. I have a Sharpie that's kind of a little bit of a darker color, as you can see there. And I thought I could just draw every single one of the scales on all the way down just to provide a little bit of contrast. And I think it looks a little bit better than the original just black lines. Kind of brings out the detail without too much. Now, again, I have the holes from the existing hanger, so we're just going to use the hanger. I'm just going to make it look like the little mermaid is like tied onto the back of the sign that's displaying it. It's going to provide another little coastal touch with like the jute hanger. Just using it because, again, this one was kind of an easy short living DIY. I thought it could just hang over the top like that. Sometimes simplicity looks really pretty. Now, I did want to give it a little bit of a coastal farmhouse vibe, so I'm just distressing with ivory in one direction, just across, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. Just softened it up a little bit and made it look more distressed, kind of like the sign that we made. And now we can attach it. It's going to be super easy. I just want to kind of glue it to the front and then also glue the hanger around the back. And that's one way you can get around the holes on there is just to go ahead and use them sometimes rather than try to fill it up or decorate over it. So just a hot dot of hot glue there on the back to secure that in place. And she is ready. I love the simplicity, the colors on her. It's very kind of basic, but I kind of like it. And this is how it looks in my home. Nice and coastal farmhouse, don't you think? And really easy to do.
And I'm glad that they do have the Crafter Square mermaid. At least they're gonna maybe have a few items that are coastal. I don't know, I'm so disappointed. Okay, for the next DIY, you could sub out some of these chunky wood houses from the Dollar Tree. And I was able to find some great beach stencils available on Amazon.
Okay, this one's going to combine like 3 shore living items together. I'm going to do like a shore living canvas, one of the ocean prints, and I want to use that to cover up one of the little shore living houses. Now, it can be any of the houses. There's a million variations of those from Dollar Tree, and we're going to cover it up so it doesn't really matter. So the first thing I need to do is to try to get the canvas off of this, just using a razor blade, cutting on the outside of the staple so I can pull that off. Usually the only tricky part is the corners here because it's a little bit doubled up and stapled down there. And I thought it would be cute to do a house with like an ocean background covering it. And you could also do that if you had like an ocean print, like scrapbook paper or something like that. But you know me, I'm always trying to use items from the Dollar Tree. And then I want to also use one of the shore living stencils, one of the ones that says, "Meet me by the sea," and kind of combine all this together and see what we come up with. Now this has like a little foam sticker on the front. So I just went ahead and removed that with a little heat. And I think this is going to be the perfect size to cover this. You know, I've picked up so many of these shore living canvases, and I'm always looking for fun, creative ways to reuse them. And this is definitely a fun option. So I just sketched that out on the back of the canvas. And then I realized, you know, I do kind of have to work around like the roof line on there. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it out to get started. And I like the roof line that's on there, so I need to find a way to cut that down to size now that I have it cut down to there. So I just flip it over, kind of sketch it on the back so I'll know where to cut. And I think that's so pretty. They have so many pretty shore living ones. And you know, I've picked up some canvases from Dollar Tree lately too that aren't shore living, but also with like coastal or sea creature designs. So many pretty things. Now I'm going to put down a rather thick layer of Mod Podge so that we can secure that heavy canvas to our little house. And I want it to be thick, so it's definitely strong enough. And then I just lay the canvas right on top. And kind of push that down, wipe off any excess glue. And it's definitely a beachy vibe. Now here is the stencil that I wanted to use. Have you guys seen the stencils this year? I haven't seen the stencils this year at my stores, but sometimes some of my stores still actually have them like mixed in with their crafter square stuff, but I don't know. It seems to go so fast this year, it's hard for me to tell what they have and what they don't. And I'm just using a stencil dauber from the Dollar Tree and ivory acrylic and stenciling all over. Now, I didn't use any adhesive or anything underneath my stencil, so I might have a little bit of bleeding, but that's okay because I'm going for that coastal farmhouse vibe. And you know me, I'll probably distress it anyway. So I remove my stencil, and this is what we have so far. So a great way to take 3 of the Shore Living items, kind of combine them together, get something new. I take ivory and I distress everything, of course, including the roof line because it was kind of a little bit darker wood, but all over my canvas too. And wiping that with a baby wipe to kind of remove any of the excess and blend it in. And I just distress it a little bit until I'm happy with it. Super cute and fun. And then I thought it needed something to replace the little sand dollar that was on there before. And one of these little wood sea turtles, painted ivory, would be really cute. These are also from the Shore Living line. They have all kinds of little sea creatures like dolphins and sea turtles. So I painted it ivory and a very slight distress with some anti-wax by Waverly to give it a coastal feel, to make it go with the vibe of the sign. And then we can just attach that right up here near the roof of our house. And just a little bit of hot glue. And this is how it turned out. Our little meet me by the sea, little ocean house, if you will. Just a fun idea for something that you can sit on your shelf. And you could maybe use this on a tier tray as well, as long as it's not too big.
And I also added some beach theme craft paper that I got on Amazon to my crafting list under beach essentials. And I think that would work as well.
Okay, next DIY. This is going to be 2 DIYs. We're going to do a starfish and a shell stepping stone DIY. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been asking what to do with these, and I have been brainstorming. I wanted something to make a frame with, and I couldn't figure out anything that was going to work that would be strong enough to hang a stepping stone to a wall. But I figured out these would be perfect. The little 2-pack of the small wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree, upside down, would form a perfect frame that we could attach to the shell, to the little stones. I was really worried that nothing would work, and I wanted something that would be easy to hang, and it's going to frame it out. So I'm going to disguise all of the wire on there with Dollar Tree brown rope. I just kind of start here on the middle one. You could always do the back one if you wanted. I kind of skipped that one. It's going to be kind of under the stepping stone. And just gluing that around the wreath form. We're going to get all the way around. And then we're just going to keep going with that same piece of Dollar Tree rope. And it doesn't really matter which size, I don't think, of the brown rope that you use, whatever you've got. And I'm just using a whole package. Can't remember which one this is. I think this might be the thicker one. And I am going all the way around. When I get to the edges, I'm going to kind of like overlap it to the bottom part of the wreath a little bit just to cover up the wire. So you can't really see it on the sides, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole piece of rope. And we have a little rope frame for these. I was thinking, gosh, I can make a table out of them. but it wouldn't be a very smooth surface. I have been brainstorming because I found a bunch of these little stepping stones at my Dollar Tree with the shore living line, but I could not think of what to do with them besides using them as stepping stones. Some of you guys have said that you use them like sitting them in like large plants on your patio. That would be super cute too. And I also picked up some because I thought we could also use them on like a beach or coastal tier tray because they're not too big. So I'm just going to do the same exact thing here with the other little wreath form. And those were a great value because you get 2 of them for $1.25 at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to do the same thing. I just started on the middle wire, going to use the entire rope, kind of sandwiching the bottom layer around to kind of cover up the wire from the side. And I'm going to actually just hang mine with the wire reform on the wall, but you could always attach a hanger at this point too when you've still got like exposed wire there. I was thinking about even wiring down these, but they're not that heavy. So I think this is going to work because I've got lots of rope and wire that I can attach the stepping stone to. So I'm just using hot glue and going over the rope and the wire, pushing that down inside the little rope frame. It's the perfect size, and the rope kind of comes up around the edges since I used it upside down, remember? To kind of like it kind of provides like a little bowl to sit the little stone down into. Just trying to clean up a little bit of my hot glue mess here on the back. But I think that's going to work. It seems really sturdy. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here with the other one. I think these are so cute. The starfish and the seashell. I love the colors. And I like the way that they look with the brown rope as well. So gonna hot glue this one to the wire and the rope as well. We're gonna clean up any extra hot glue we have there. Now I do want to kind of make the back look a little bit better than that. And I thought if I added something to the back, I could maybe make it even more secure because I definitely don't want these falling apart. Haven't decided if I'm going to use these indoor or outdoor. So I'm just going to use some of the Dollar Tree burlap that they have in the shore living line right now and just cut out like 2 pieces. That'll be large enough for the back of each one of these little stepping stone pieces. And then I'm just going to hot glue that on the back. So I'm going to hot glue it to the rope, the wire, and the stone. Kind of securing everything together, but also giving it a more finished back. And you know, I said I was going to use the wire wreath form to hang it. I still am able to do that through the burlap. It was really no problem at all. Had a very strong structure. But again, you could put a hanger on there if you wanted to. Twine would work really well if you wanted to do a loop. Once I got them all glued down, I just used my scissors to trim that off. I don't want any of that burlap to really be visible from the front, so I try to go as close to the rope as I can, and making sure it is all good and secure. And it doesn't have to look perfect. It is the back, but I think that is going to serve a purpose, help secure them in the little rope frames. And I think this was a good solution. What do you guys think about our little stepping stones that you can hang on a wall now? Actually, they'd be really cute to display like that kind of anywhere. And here is the little starfish in the wreath form made out of rope. And I was really happy that I found something the right size because even like the small wood signs and stuff like that that they had at the Dollar Tree, everything was a little bit too big. And I really didn't want to just glue it to something. I kind of wanted to glue it in something with sides like this. So here is the little blue seashell one. The colors are perfect on these. I don't think they really need any painting or anything. I think they're ready to go for a coastal decor.
And you could really do this with any of the cute little stepping stones that you find at Dollar Tree. I found this was such a great way to display them and be able to hang them on the wall.
They also have these little shore living wood bead garlands. They're not my favorite, but I have used them, so I kind of wanted to show you what I did with them. Just a very super easy thing. I do like the natural wood beads. And so that's fine, but it's not long enough, and I want to add some color to the anchors as well. They're really short, so I needed it long enough to go across my cabinet. So I'm going to like cut one in half and tie it onto the end of one, kind of keeping that same pattern going with like the 5 wood beads and then an anchor. I was hoping, they improved a lot of the short living items this year, but it doesn't seem like they really improved this one at all. But it's going to work. I mean, it's a coastal little garland. So I'm just going to open up the end of this one, kind of make it more symmetrical. I think I had too many beads on there. And then again, I like them just that natural wood, so I thought I would just go in and paint the anchors. I'm going to start with my little turquoise color paint pen and just kind of sketch all over. Trying not to get any on the wood beads. I decided that didn't look the best. I think my paint pen was maybe running out a little bit, so I tried it with just some like Caribbean blue acrylic paint and a tiny brush, and I think that looked a lot better. And it's just as quick. So we're just going to go ahead and just paint all the anchors that beachy blue color. So this was so easy to put together, and it did end up cute. They're just not my favorite. I don't know, maybe I'm just not a big fan of the square wood beads.
But of course, I do like the little beach shapes on there. And you do have to kind of use more than one if you want like to make like a substantial garland to hang or anything like that. And let me show you how I displayed this. I think it did turn out really cute. I put it on the top of my cabinet full of shore living Dollar Tree DIYs. So it does look really cute up there. And it's definitely really easy to DIY. Now, the next DIY, I used the Target Driftwood vase filler. It's a Threshold brand. I've noticed you can buy it on eBay. I can't find it at Target anymore, but I know a lot of you guys have used wood chips and had success with that. You're also going to need a starfish sign. This is about the only one I could find available at Walmart.
I'm just going to use one of these little seahorse signs from the shore living at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a coat of paint just to kind of cover up everything we've got on there. It's got some glitter and stuff like that. As you can see, this one was like even like misprinted. Now, if you can't find this one, which is a little bit bigger than the raw wood one, you could use that one as well. Your seahorse is just going to be a little bit smaller. But what I want to do is take this piece. I'm just giving it kind of a coat of chalk paint and distressing it with a little antique wax by Waverly to kind of give it a driftwood feel. Now, the reason that we're doing that is that we're going to make it into a driftwood seahorse. I used to have one of these that I spent big money on and it fell apart. So we're going to try to make it with some of this driftwood from Target. It is a vase filler and my Target has it all the time. I always try to watch for the sales and I stock up because it's a really good driftwood to craft with. It's nice and flat, easy to glue down, and just a nice clean driftwood. If you're lucky enough to have lots of driftwood from the beach, you could try it. But we're gonna make it look really good. This piece turned out really high end. I still have it in my house all the time. I love looking at it. So just kind of like a puzzle. We're just going to start hot gluing the driftwood everywhere. I kind of try a piece. If it kind of fits, that's good. If not, I'll put it back and then look for another one. Just like, you're putting together a puzzle, you're looking for a long piece, a short piece, a wide piece, and you can always overlap them like that too. I'm just trying to cover up as much of the seahorse as I can. The
The reason I painted it and kind of distressed it first was for any of the cracks in between any pieces, just to kind of make it look better. And I just keep building. I'm kind of working in one direction, but I do kind of try to follow the edges as well. Just kind of filling it all in. And driftwood projects, I mean, they're easy, but they do take a little while. I have it all sped up here for you, so I don't keep you here all day. But I'm just using Gorilla Glue hot glue and gluing those all on. This little piece over here, the little fin on the back of the seahorse, a little tricky. But I've got some weird looking pieces as well. And sometimes if I really need to, I sometimes break it or try to cut them down a little bit, but usually I don't have to. Usually I can make it work. If it doesn't work flat, it might work on its side. They're really fun to put together a driftwood project like this. And we're going to keep working down this bumpy little tail, kind of trying to follow the bumps in it with the little edges of my driftwood to bring out all that detail. Now, I end up doing this to both sides of the seahorse to make it like a more three-dimensional driftwood seahorse. That's what I had before, and I thought it looked good. Doesn't look super flat, but if you only want to do one side, you totally could get away with it. But I really like the hefty feel of doing both sides of the seahorse. So it looks like this side is doing pretty good. Just kind of try to fill in any little holes that I may see. Because you do want it to have like, you know, a depth to it. A certain thickness. Just kind of filling in the belly area. And any areas I think just needs a little bit more. It's kind of just a judgment call when you think you're done. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And so let's start on the other side. It's already brown, so I don't have to worry about any of that blue or glitter or anything showing through. I am just gluing directly to it. And this is going to be the back of mine anyway. It's just going to give you that 3D vibe that I was going for. And you could always hang it too. It could be really cute on both sides if you wanted to hang it, like from a ceiling or something like that. But I'm just going to do the same thing. As you can tell on the back, I'm not too concerned about like a design. I'm actually going sideways instead of up and down. Just trying to get as much coverage as I can on there with the driftwood that I have left. And I have ordered driftwood before on Amazon. I think I have that linked in my Amazon shop below. I find you don't get a lot. I really prefer working with the Dollar Tree driftwood. I usually always go back to that. It is a very light color wood, and we are going to stain it today to make it look a little bit more like driftwood, less like this bleached wood that it looks like right now. And so the back was kind of a easy peasy version of covering it all. And we can start staining it. So just using Antique Wax by Waverly and a little chunky brush so I can get down into all of the little nooks and crannies of my driftwood. We're just going to start staining it all over. I like to wipe off the excess with just a baby wipe to make sure it doesn't get too dark. But I did want a nice good stain all over this, and you can see how pretty that looks after you stain it. So much character in this piece. I really love it. Nobody would know that this was a cheap Dollar Tree Shore Living sign. So we're going to do the same thing here on the front. As you can tell, like this side is the side that is my front. So I think my details are a lot better on this. Kind of how I kind of flared out like the fin. And I kind of like this up and down look a little bit better than the other side. So I do about half of the stain or the antique wax and then wipe it off so it doesn't dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the tail. And this is one of my favorite shore living DIYs that I've ever done. I think it's just so pretty. So we got that all stained and just wiping off the excess. And
you can kind of see the edges because, you know, it is a 3D piece. So I am just going to go in and stain all of the edges as well to completely finish it off. And as you saw, I left like the original hanger on there.
And this is probably one of my favorite DIYs I've ever done here on my channel. I still have it hanging in my hallway. It's so cute. Again, a lot of you guys have recreated this using the little wood chips, the barbecue wood chips, and it turned out really cute. So if you're not able to find the driftwood, again, I used the Threshold driftwood base filler that they used to have at Target. For the next DIY, I'm going to use a Shore Living glass sticker, but I think you could use any of the Seahorse stickers. I saw there was quite a big variety of them on Amazon if you wanted to recreate.
We're going to use a Shore Living glass sticker, that beautiful seahorse, and then this beautiful beachy blue candle. This is just one of the tall candles they have all the time at Dollar Tree. I love this color though. When you peel off the plastic, it does leave like a really sticky adhesive. So I always like to use a little bit of Glue Gun on that, but then you kind of have to clean the Glue Gun off so that you can secure the sticker to it. But these glass stickers are so fun, and it's perfect for a glass candle, right? I'm just going to use the seahorse itself. I think the colors are so pretty on it. It's the perfect size for one of these long candles, and just peel and stick the glass sticker on there. Trying to get it on there right the first time because I don't really want to weaken the adhesive on the sticker. And then I wanted to give it like a little bit of a coastal touch in addition. And so I found this at the Dollar Tree the other day. It is like a macrame cotton rope. And I like it because it's like kind of the same kind of color and feel as the white rope from Dollar Tree, but on a much smaller scale. And I thought that would look really cute wrapped around it, the candle, kind of like you would do with twine, but this time with a little white rope. So I just start in the back here of my candle and hot glue that macrame rope to it. And we're just going to go around several times until I think it looks good. And you don't have to worry about, like, you can light this candle because it's all secure in a jar. I am going to go ahead and put some of this macrame rope on the top as well. But since I'm securing it to the side of the jar, it's not like it's going to catch on fire or anything, I don't think. So I hope not. We're going to glue that here at the top, kind of down a little bit, just to kind of cover the very top of the candle. These candles aren't always the most beautiful on the sides. I always try to pick out kind of the best side for the front whenever I'm DIYing with them. But I go around this one about the same, I think 4 times. And I thought that just provided another little coastal touch to this quick and easy shore living DIY. Aren't those colors so pretty together? Here is our little seahorse shore living candle DIY.
Super easy, and I think this would be pretty easy to recreate, even if you can't find the glass sticker like that. For the next DIY, I tried to source some starfish, really similar to the wood starfish that they had at the Dollar Tree in the Shore Living line. And I wasn't able to find anything like that, but I think you could sub regular starfish as long as they're large.
Okay, this DIY is going to be really fun. We're going to use some of these new starfish from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 2 of the white ones and 1 of the blue ones. They're really a nice size, and they've already got like the little hanger on them. So we're actually going to take advantage of that. I wanted to do like a driftwood wall hanging. You could use this as a wind chime because it's going to be very decorative, or you could hang it on a wall. I think I'm going to hang mine on the wall. And I'm also going to use some of these little hanging decor wood beads and sand dollars from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so I went to the beach and I picked out 3 pieces of driftwood that were all kind of the same. They're all about the same length and they're kind of the same kind of wood, so we're going to go with those. But, you know, you could use whatever you have. If you don't have any driftwood, you could always use a stick, just something rugged. And then about halfway in the middle, I'm just going to use my largest drill bit and drill all the way through my driftwood so that I can start this hanging. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all 3. We're going to use 3 pieces of driftwood on this project. I'm not measuring or anything, just kind of guessing about halfway in the middle. And then we can start putting this together. I have 3 starfish and I have 3 driftwood. So I'm just going to start by threading that through the hole that we drilled in the driftwood. And just leave it like that for now. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing here for the other 2. If your hole's big enough, it's pretty easy to get that like rope cording through there. Just squeeze it and push it. I've always wanted to make one of these and it just turned out really cute. And these starfish being already tied up just makes it so much easier. So this one's going to be the top. So I just do a simple little overhand knot on the top. So that gives me a little loop that I can hang it with. And it also holds the starfish in place. And then we can start building from there. I thought these wood beads would come in handy. I kind of want to use the white and like turquoise blue ones. I thought that would go nicely with the white and the blue starfish that we have and look really beachy. I don't really want to use any of the navy stuff. That's not really going to go with my decor too much. Now, they're already on twine, so I'm just going to go ahead and untie this so I can kind of use the existing twine. And I'm just trying to determine how many wood beads I want to do in between. I end up going with, I think, 3. So, like, I'm just alternating blue, white, blue. And I did go back and forth about how many wood beads I could use. I decided 3, then 4, then 2, and then I go back to 3, of course. So I kind of want to alternate colors. So blue, white, blue, and then a white little sand dollar also from that wood bead hanging. Isn't it cute? It's very delicate looking. I'm just going to string it through like that so it will hang flat against my wall. And then we can attach that to the back of the white starfish. So I just flip that over. And I'm going to use that existing hanger that's on there and my staple gun. I'm just going to staple that on the back of the starfish. The starfish are like made out of wood, so really easy to staple to. And that looks pretty secure. I kind of like the way that looks. And then I think we can repeat that with our next starfish. So we're going to have the blue starfish next. And so it's just a matter of tying that off. It has the little loop and then I have the twine, so it's just a matter of tying them together. This was really easy to do. I just tied this one first like I did before to secure the starfish. So it's not going to go anywhere, and then tie the twine on there. And I want it to be relatively tight. I don't want it to be too long. And you can make this as big or small as you need for sure. But I thought 3 starfish would make it a nice length, and it probably is like 3 to 4 feet long. So I staple a piece of twine onto the back of the blue one, and then I'm just going to string some of the beads that I had left over from before. I'm just going to repeat that same pattern with the turquoise, white, turquoise. And then using another one of those little white sand dollars, I'm going to string that on there as well. Trying to figure out how I did it. There's a little hole on top. I string through that, and then I string through one of the slots on the sand dollar. I'm just going to put a little hot glue on the end of my twine to make this part a little bit easier. That way it'll lay flat against my wall, and it's just going to look better. So now we're ready for the 3rd row. I'm just going to tie that off like I did on the other 2, just by making a knot there. And then I can tie the twine to that. And this is going to be the very last piece on this. This was so easy to put together, and I just love how it turned out. If you don't like the colors of the starfish, or you can't find the ones that you want, they'd be really easy to paint and do this any color. I chose to hang this on my wall, which makes it hang flat like this. But this would be really cute if you hung it from your porch or something like that too, because then everything's going to kind of go a different way. Driftwood will go one way, starfish will go another way, you know, just depending on how the wind is blowing. But I think it turned out really cute. What do you think? This is what it looks like hanging. I have like a skinny, weird wall in my entryway, and I hung it up there, and I think it looks really cute. I think it looks nice and coastal.
And I always enjoy it when I can use stuff actually from the beach. The driftwood was really great for that. But I think it looks really good all together like this. For the next DIY, again, you're going to need a wood seahorse. I was able to find this one at Walmart. That's not too expensive, but hopefully you might have one left over.
Okay, I told you I love seahorses, so let's do a seahorse DIY. This is one of the wood seahorses from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. You could also do this on the one that is a little bit larger that has like paper and glitter on it. You could probably make that work too. I always like the raw wood if I can start with that. Now we're going to use some of this lightweight spackle from the Dollar Tree. And I want to kind of cover the wood and kind of see if I can make like a cool texture on here with this spackle. I've never really done this before, and once I get it on there, I really wanted to do like kind of a cool pattern to kind of make it look like a seahorse. You know, they have that weird kind of like exoskeleton going on, and I don't really have the tools to do that, but I think it still turned out really cool. So I'm just trying to put a thick layer of the spackle all over, kind of making it look like a little bit more 3D. It's not going to be super thick anywhere, but just trying to give coverage all over that basic like seahorse shape and see what we can do. I've seen other crafters like do art with this, and so that kind of gave me the inspiration to try this and see what we could create. And I'm really actually happy with the final project. I think it turns out beautiful. So it's kind of like frosting. Doesn't it kind of look like I have frosted like a giant cookie or a cake? It kind of looks like frosting, definitely. And it was a little dry, but not too bad. Once I got that on there, I do go in with a little more. I didn't think it was thick enough to really be able to texture it very much. And so I do use more of that same jar and spread out another coat of our, I guess, frosting, right? But my consistency of mine, it was a little dry, but I didn't have to add water to it or anything. But basically, this is what it looks like right now. You can kind of see how much I have on there, like the thickness and stuff like that. Now, I kind of wanted to make rows go down it like a seahorse has. So I'm just using my 3 fingers because, again, I had no tools for this. And I just dragged them down, creating like little channels in the spackle while it's still wet. And I'm going to do it over here too on the belly region, kind of following the shape of the seahorse. Also on the fin, just rubbing 3 fingers down at a time to try to make little channels to go down it. Now, like if you look at like an exoskeleton, like or the skin of a seahorse, they have this really cool pattern, and it's kind of like almost like a grid pattern. So I'm going to like run my fingers the opposite direction too to try to get that same kind of pattern. And it kind of works, it kind of doesn't. So I go back and do my original channels because I found that some of those were kind of covered up when I went the other way. So this is definitely an experiment, but I think it kind of turned out cool. And then I'm going to go back and just push down like just with my fingertips on those other sections to kind of make like a mottled texture. Kind of all over. And let me see if I can show you. See the texture that I put on there? Kind of reminds me a little bit of a seahorse skin. So I think that's going to work. I'm going to go in there with my heat gun and give it a good dry, and then we are ready to paint it. It's already that white color, which is great, but I wanted to add different colors to bring out all this beautiful texture. So I'm going to start with ivory and just a brush. And I'm not going for like really good coverage. Any of the areas that are down deep, I'm leaving them that white color that they are from the spackle. I'm just trying to get most of it covered with ivory first. It's going to kind of seal that in, I think, a little bit, make it a little bit less crusty. But I think that looks pretty good. And then I also wanted to bring out a little bit more dimension. So we are going to distress this a little bit more. Once I get that dry, I'm just going to go in with some Antique Wax by Waverly and a little chunky brush. And I'm just going to kind of like dot that all over with a very light dotting distress to try to bring out some more of that texture. In the end, I find it looks really cool. It looks like kind of like a concrete or like ceramic. It looks really interesting. I was happy with it. Once I got it all on there, I'm just kind of sponging that on with a baby wipe to kind of take off the excess antique wax. And just going back in with ivory if I think I've went too dark anywhere, and kind of distress that with the ivory. So basically we're going to have the white, we're going to have the ivory, we're going to have the antique wax, and then kind of came out like kind of a little bit tan. So I'm just dotting ivory back on all over to kind of add a little bit more color. And it's really bringing out that texture, I think. So that is, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I want to also display this on a sign, and I will also want to use one of the Shore Living sand dollars. And so while I have my paint out, I'm going to go ahead and give it the same finish by painting the little sand dollar with the ivory acrylic first. Give that a quick dry, and then I'm going to go in and distress it the same exact way I did with the Antique Wax by Waverly, just by dotting it all over to give it that same texture. That way they will look very coordinated together. So I'm going to go back with some ivory after I do the antique wax just to brighten it up a little bit, and just sponge out with a baby wipe as well. And I think that turned out so cool. I love that finish. So now that I have both of those done, I want to display them on a Dollar Tree sign. I'm going to use this like medium wood color one. These are kind of new at the Dollar Tree. They have like the slatted wood. I think they look really pretty. And I think that ivory is going to look really good against the wood. But you could use any of the Longshore Living signs as well. I just really wanted this wood finish. I really want to go with like a neutral color scheme on this one. And so I'm just going to go ahead and remove the hanger. Don't really like how they attach their hangers. I like to tie mine on the front. I find they hang a little flatter. So I'm just going to go in there and cut off another piece of twine, Dollar Tree twine. I am going to hot glue the tips to make them easy to thread through the holes, come from behind, and just tie a knot in the front, which that's how I like them. I'm just going to burn off the fuzzies too to clean that up a little bit, and do the same thing here on the other side. Now I want to also use that twine on the bottom since this is kind of a long sign. I do have, it's plenty of room to do like a little jute twine wrapping here at the bottom. And I like to do that with long signs. I think that looks really pretty. So I just hot glue the twine to the back and just kind of wrap that around until I'm happy with it, kind of crossing through it a couple times too, just to finish off the bottom of the sign, and then hot gluing that to the back and trimming that down. Now it's just basically all I have to do is attach the Seahorse and the sand dollar to this. This was so fun to make, and I just love how it turned out. It's definitely unique. I thought the sand dollar will look good on top, and then that beautiful Seahorse that we made. I love that. I might have to give that a go. I might have to get some tools though, so I can kind of make a texture like I wanted to, but I think this works. So I put hot glue all over the back of our little wood seahorse and then just kind of center that on my sign. It's okay if his nose veers off a little bit, and glue that down. And then I just need to glue down the little sand dollar as well. Center that at the top of my sign. I'm not going to add any words or anything to this. I think the silhouette of the seahorse is beautiful on its own with that beautiful texture. I did want to add a little decor down here to the bottom though, the twine. And I have some of these little tiny starfish. I buy these on Amazon. I always have these listed in my Amazon shop, which is listed below. Sometimes you can get some bigger ones that come with the small ones. They're all in one package usually. The tiny ones and the size, but I'm going to pick out 3 of the kind of bigger ones and just hot glue those on there. If you don't have those, you could always do seashells or whatever you've got, something a little in the smaller size for that. But the color works perfectly for how we painted the little sand dollar and the seahorse. And this is how it turned out. Hopefully you can see that beautiful texture on there. It looks so cool.
I love this piece. I have it hanging in my master bedroom. The color's really neutral, so it goes with just about anything. And it's really held up really well. Really fun technique to DIY a wood seahorse sign.
Okay, the next DIY is super easy as well. Kind of wanted to give you an idea of what you can do with the shore living anchors. I picked up this little house sign at my Target dollar spot, but you could use about anything. Dollar Tree has so many of these like plain wood crafting signs now. They also have a lot of house-shaped things as well. I thought it would be really cute to do like the house background with the anchor on front, just something really easy. I just popped the little back off of the frame on this just so I could update the color. And I'm mixing Caribbean blue with ivory together to give me that light, soft, beachy blue. And we're just going to paint the back of it that color. This one would be cute though on the Dollar Tree square ones or the round ones. I love all of the crafting blanks they have at the Dollar Tree now. So that's how it looks. I love the existing like frame. I think it's perfect, the wood. And so I'm just going to glue this back into my house frame with that blue background. And I picked up the white anchor. They have those in all different colors, but if you don't like the colors that you can find, they're so easy to paint and they have a great texture on them as well. So there's our little blue house. I thought we would make this just look very simple and easy, but I liked it. I do want the white anchor, but of course, I wanted to distress it a little bit. So I'm just going to distress it slightly with some Antique Wax by Waverly, just to give it that coastal farmhouse vibe. Wiping off most of that with a baby wipe, just leaving a slight distress. See the beautiful texture on these? I think these look great for being from the Dollar Tree. And I want to sit it on that beautiful beachy blue house, so I just attach it with hot glue. I told you this one was going to be easy. And you could attach a rope on yours. I didn't really want to. I didn't really want it to stick out from the sign. So we're just going to use the anchor and the house. And this is one of those little wood blocks I was telling you about, the Jenga blocks from Five Below. I'm just going to attach that to the back because I actually want this to be a little sign for my shelf. Quick and easy and very coastal. This is how it turned out, our little anchor house.
Really pretty. Again, you could use the chunky wood houses for that. If you had an anchor, I don't think it would be very hard to find an anchor like this at maybe like Walmart. I wasn't able to find anything to link, but I know I've seen them out and about, especially maybe even Dollar General on that one. And then for the next DIY, here are some options for some sailboats. This one you also get the anchor and the ship wheel, and the price isn't bad for 6 large signs.
Okay, the next DIY, check out the sailboats they have this year at the Shore Living line. They're so high end. There's no glitter. They have burlap. But I thought we could take it up a notch and make like a nice coastal beach sign. using some of these wall shelves. I picked up 3 of these at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to kind of put them together to make like a wood slat, like rectangular sign. I really like these because they're nice and thick, and I think we can totally make this work. Now, I don't need the hangers or anything like that. I do want to save one piece of the rope, though, to make a hanger for my sign. But otherwise, we're just going to cut all of these hangers off. Now, if you can't find these shelves, you can probably get about the same result with craft wood, or if you don't care about like the slatted pattern, you could do any kind of Dollar Tree rectangular sign. So I want to paint it. I don't want to leave it that wood color. I kind of want it to give a coastal ivory background, but very distressed. So before I put it together, I'm just going to go ahead and just start distressing in one direction. And I'm purposely like not getting great coverage because I want a little bit of that wood to shine through. And this is going to make a really fun backdrop, I think, for that sailboat. They have, I think I got 3 different kinds of those sailboats. I can't believe how nice they are this year. They've really improved them over the past 2 years. I've always had to DIY the other ones quite a bit to make them look nice, but these are really cool. So I got it all painted. I do go over with a little bit more just to make it a little bit brighter ivory and a little less wood. And I think that is going to work. Next step is to put them together. Now, I told you I wanted like a slatted pattern. So I do want space in between each board. And so I'm going to accomplish that with popsicle sticks. Now, these boards are nice and thick, so I should be able to staple them without like the staple going all the way through. So that's going to be helpful. So I just use Dollar Tree popsicle sticks. Now, they're a little long, so I'm going to cut them down to about the right size I want. And then I'm just going to staple these onto the back. And it's going to keep my boards together, and it's going to give it kind of a cool effect. And I'm just leaving them raw wood. I think that's going to be fine. Trying to get my spacing right again. And then I'm just going to, I love working with popsicle sticks because they're so easy to cut just with scissors. I'm just going to cut 3 more here. And I think 4 total is going to be plenty to secure this. So there is our little slatted wood sign. It's going to be a great backdrop for that sailboat. Now, this is one of the existing ropes that came with the shelf. I'm going to hot glue the end to make it a little easier to feed through. And then I'm just going to feed it through here, knotting it in front and then coming back through the other side, tying it off to a length that I think is going to be a good hanger. I thought it would look better there than to go all the way to the sides with the hanger. And you have all those holes to choose from. And here's our little sailboat. The one I'm going to use says, "Life is a journey, enjoy it." So I'm going to go ahead and take it apart just by cutting the hanger off. And I'm also going to pull these little ropes and staples off the back of the sign. I'm going to attach it separately to it, so it doesn't really like need like the dangly part here. It's just a matter of pulling those staples out, which is pretty easy. But I do like both signs, so I am definitely going to use both. Isn't that pretty? I love the colors, and I love that there's burlap on it, and the writing is on the burlap. It's so cute. So I'm going to kind of put it together something like that. And look, it's like the perfect size. So first I'm going to hot glue the little "enjoy it" sign down. I'm so thankful that these do not have any glitter on them for sure. That's actually going to help secure my boards together too, by gluing them all together. And then we just have to glue down the little sailboat. It's just a way of taking a small Dollar Tree sign like this and making it way more substantial. It's going to look so much more high-end hanging on your wall. So I'm going to glue that one down, trying to center it the best I can. Now the only thing is there is a hole in the top where there was a hanger, and so I do want to cover that up, but otherwise I really like it like this. So I was trying to think, I usually do like twine, like a bow, but we're doing coastal today, right? So I'm just going to use a little tiny seashell from the Dollar Tree. Doesn't matter what one. And I'm just going to hot glue that over the hole just for a fun little touch. And I think it is ready to go. The existing sailboat doesn't need anything. I think it's just perfect. And I'm going to hang this in my entryway above my console table where I've got all the DIYs we've been doing so far this year with the Shore Living line, like my school of fish on a stand and stuff like that. I think it's all going to look so cute together, and this is how it looks hanging in my entryway.
I really love those sailboats. I think I have some left over from last year. I hope I do because they're so cute, but again, I did post the link for some sailboats if you want to DIY your own and use the shelves as a back sign. Okay, next DIY, I actually got this little tray at Goodwill for 50 cents on sale. And I thought it would be the perfect thing to put one of the little Shore Living Dollar Tree canvases in. And I love these little birds. I think they're so cute. I love seeing these at the beach. And I thought we could cover the bottom of that Goodwill tray with the canvas, just another little fun application. And it's going to have way more character than just the canvas, I think. Now, I wasn't a big fan of the orange wood that this was, so I thought we could distress it by mixing like a little ivory acrylic paint with some antique wax by Waverly, kind of give me that nice driftwood color, and just start kind of distressing this piece all over. And it's okay if a little bit of that color shines through, but just mainly trying to distress most of that out of here, kind of going around all the edges, because you're going to be able to see those once I cover the bottom of the tray with the canvas. And you're going to be able to see like the outside of the tray too. So we're going to distress that all the way around. And it really took this little 50-cent tray from Goodwill up a notch for sure. It looks way better now. This is another piece that I kind of display year-round. I really love how it turned out. I'm not going to worry about the bottom because that's where the canvas is going to be. So you're not going to be able to see that. And I want my glue to stick down to that. So I'm avoiding paint on the bottom. So now it's time to remove the canvas. I'm just using my razor blade and going around all four edges of the canvas to cut it free. It's usually pretty easy to do this. The only tricky part is the corners where they kind of have it overlapped and stapled down. So we're just going to snip those. This tray, you're going to want to look for something a little bit smaller than your canvas so you can custom make this. But they have some Dollar Tree signs too that work well for this. I think in one of my, maybe not my last Shore Living video, but the one before. And so I'm kind of measuring how big this tray is so I'll know exactly how big to cut this out. And we're just going to trim it down until it fits in here. And I hope you guys are enjoying all of this content. I have been a busy girl this month in April. So far, I have had 7 videos in 2 weeks. 7 videos in 2 weeks. It's pretty good, huh? I hope you guys are enjoying them. We're really trying to grow this channel, and we're really close to 15,000 subscribers. And I have been trying to get there. I am thinking that we need to do another giveaway like we did last year this time when we hit 5,000 subscribers. And last year I gave away a lot of shore living items, so I'm thinking that might be a good idea this year too, especially since they can be tricky to find. One of my stores still doesn't have it out, and my other stores are almost sold out, so it's crazy. So I got it cut to size. We're going to cover the bottom of the tray with just a thick layer of Mod Podge to glue that canvas down well. Just kind of sit it in there and smooth it out. Super easy. I'm not going to Mod Podge or anything on top. I think it's going to be fine as is. Just trying to get any of the excess glue that may have seeped out along the edges and the corners out of there. And this little thrift flip is complete with a little Dollar Tree Shore Living Shorebird canvas inside. You could do this with any of them. They have so many beautiful Shore Living prints. I love them. And this is how it turned out. Really a fun way to display any of the canvases that you can find at the Dollar Tree. Again, I think we still will be able to find beach scene and ocean scene canvases. Let's do another DIY. This one's going to be really easy. We're going to use one of the glass stickers from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree and a little Dollar Tree frame. I picked this one up because the wood was great for coastal. It doesn't have glass or anything in it. It's got wood bead handle on the top. I thought it was super cute. So we're just going to pop the back out of this and we're just going to make a cute little mermaid sign. Now the paper was a little loose on there, so I tried to tear it off, but you know how those things are. They're like kind of half glued on there. But oh well, we're going to make it work. I wanted to do a cute little sign, so I'm going to cover it with some of that removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree, the white board. I picked that up a lot because I think it looks really coastal, and just cut down a little square. And we can use that to cover up all of that ripped paper and give a plain background for the little glass sticker that we're going to go in with. These are great because they're just peel and stick. And some of my stores have the Shore Living stickers from last year, and some of them have all new ones with like dolphins and some really colorful ones. And so you could use any of these. I'm going to do the mermaid one to make a cute little coastal sign. And they say glass stickers, but they're just stickers. So you can stick them to anything, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick it right in the middle of our little sign. I think it looks really good on that, and I'm going to distress it slightly with some ivory to kind of make it look more like part of the sign and less like a plastic sticker. And then we can just pop that back into our frame. This one was really easy. I'm going to show you how it looks like displayed on my counter or on my shelf, but I ended up putting this like on the front of my fridge. And it was great there because it was a nice lightweight piece. This would be great for just about anywhere. I don't really have a very high resolution picture of this for some reason. I took a picture of the whole cabinet, but this is how it turned out. I think it's super cute. And I love the glass stickers whenever I can find anything like that. I love to pick them up for DIYs. Now for the next DIY, I used a shell wreath form. I did look online and I saw a lot of people reselling these, specifically on Etsy. Okay, we're going to make a seashell using the new seashell frame from the Dollar Tree. I thought we could use that, some of the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and some of their new white burlap from the Shore Living line. This piece should definitely be big enough. And I thought it would be cool because we could make it look like a white burlap seashell with rope as the lines. It's going to kind of go with like the color of a seashell, right? But when they roll these up, they fold them and roll them, and you're going to get lots of wrinkles. And so I'm going to start this just by pressing it with my easy press iron because I just think that's going to make it easier to put this together with no wrinkles. And this piece was plenty big enough to cover the entire back of the seashell. I also got the new Mermaid reforms. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them yet, but those look really fun too.
I hope they bring back the starfish one again this year, though, because that's one of my favorites. So what I'm going to do, this is so easy. This is very similar to what I did on my honeycomb wreath that I did recently for a bee video, is I'm going to sandwich the metal wreath form between the rope and the burlap, and it is going to secure it with only having to glue kind of one side. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use, this is the Dollar Tree rope I'm going to use. I'm just burning off the fuzzies now because I'm not going to be able to do it later. This is the thicker one. The reason I need it to be the thicker one is because I don't want you to be able to see the yellow metal reform below it. And the skinnier one, I think you definitely probably could. So it's time to start putting this together. I thought that I would do like section by section by using hot glue, and I use quite a bit of hot glue. What happens is when you glue the rope on the one side like this, the rest of the hot glue is going to seep down and attach to the burlap, therefore gluing it on and saving a step, and it's going to make it look really nice in the end. So I'm just going to do like this section. Now, when you're doing the scallop section, I got crazy and thought I could do 3 at a time, but it's really hard to get them to dry with that like scallop, pattern. So I would recommend doing one little section at a time to get that proper curvature because I struggled there. The reason I'm doing it a section at a time with a rope like this is because I didn't want to be cutting any small pieces. Like these pieces right here would be really small if I had to cut them down to size, because I do not want to overlap the rope. I want all of the rope to be the same, like, flatness against my wreath. So I've learned my lesson. I'm doing one at a time so I can get that proper curvature there before it dries. And then we're just going to go back down to the bottom here, cutting that off and securing the side. And it's a win-win that you automatically get your burlap on there as well. We're going to speed this way up for you so you're not here all day. And on this, I'm still gluing like one section at a time. Not quite as hard on the bigger sections to get like that curve shape. And then go all the way back down to where our first section is. And then glue that and cut that down to size right there. And then we're going to do the same thing here on the top by doing the outside section. Now this is only going to leave like the stripes on the shell. And so those are the pieces of rope that we'll need to cut down. But that's going to be nice and easy because they're going to be long enough to have the little rope pieces, and they're straight lines, so that's going to be easy as well to cut. And we just glue this last piece down, cutting that one down to size. And I ended up using, I think, 2 packages of rope on this project, and then the 1 package of burlap. So I just cut that piece down, glue it down, and we're going to do that with all of them because I really did not want the rope like having bumps where it like overlaps, which is the reason why I'm cutting them down. And this turned out really cute. I think I'm going to use this to decorate my wall, but you could also use this on your front door. It would be really cute as a wreath for your front door, but also really cute decoration inside. So we have that first section glued down. And I'm just trying to make sure that you can't see the yellow. The yellow is not too obnoxious of a color. So if you can see it a little bit, it's not going to be real obvious. Like, I recently did one of these with that bee wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and for some reason they painted that red. I don't know why. I had to paint it black. So the middle section of the seashell is complete, and now we just need to finish it off by cutting pieces and gluing down the top part. I was a little worried that like the burlap was not going to be like really glued down well to the back, and I was going to have to glue it again, but actually it was glued down perfectly. Okay, last piece, we have our little rope seashell on top of our burlap. Just trying to clean up any strings of hot glue that might be visible. And try to clean up any dust that might have settled on there as well. So now that we have it all glued down and secure, now we can cut off the extra burlap. I'm just using scissors and trying to get as close as I can without really cutting the rope that is bordering it. And this was actually pretty easy. You just want to get as close as you can so you don't see any of that burlap peeking around the edges. The only tricky part's probably the corners. And we're going to finish cutting that out, that shape of a seashell. And this is what we have so far. Now, I thought we could probably take it up a notch and decorate it some more. This is another one of those wall charms from the Shore Living line. It's this beautiful seashell. It's like white wood with like a natural wood kind of shining through. I thought that would look really nice on there. Then I thought I could also use some of the like sand dollars from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. These have been hard for me to find this year. These and the starfish. People are buying them so fast. But luckily I like bought so many last year that I still have plenty. So I thought maybe sand dollar, starfish, we could do some kind of a cool pattern on here. Trying to think how much I want to have on here. I really want to just kind of decorate the bottom of my shell. So we end up deciding on 2 starfish and 2 sand dollars plus the shell wall charm. I think we can make that work like that. I don't really want it to be that symmetrical though. So I just switch them and that makes my eyes happier. So it's just a matter of now putting it all together now that I like it. Now, actually, you could leave that tassel on there if you like that look. Looks kind of cool. I decided not to, though. So I'm just going to pop this off that hanger by pulling the staples out of the back. And I really like these wall charms. These are the same things that we use to make the wind chime with the anchor and the sailboat. And this shell is so pretty. So I think I'm just going to do it like that. So it's just now a matter of gluing it down. So I'm just going to put glue on the ropes where it needs to be to glue that to it. And then we're going to do the same thing with the little starfish and the sand dollars. These are the sand dollars that I bought this year, and they are way wider than the ones I bought last year. The ones I bought last year are gray, and I always have to paint them. So I'm glad that these are brighter. They kind of match the starfish now. And if you wanted, you could paint these like blues or something like that. That would be really pretty too. I was going back and forth about how many I should add down here. I didn't want to cover up too much of the shell, but I wanted enough to kind of make a statement. Starfish is a little tricky. You just got to figure out like which rays you need to glue down. Definitely not all of them. And here's our last sand dollar. It's super cute. Pretty much done with construction on this one. I just need to make a hanger. And we had that great wall charm, right? So let's take advantage and use that. I don't really need the tassel, but I do want to kind of leave the wood beads on there. I think that looks cool. And they already have the loop for the hanger. So I'm just going to attach that to the back of my little shell wreath by just doing a bead of hot glue along the back of the burlap and kind of gluing that to the wire underneath. And again, this is pretty lightweight. I think that's going to be pretty secure. And we have a little seashell. I think this is so pretty. I love the white burlap. I'm always looking for white burlap, so I was really excited to find some at Dollar Tree. The contrast is great with the brown rope. You could also do this reverse with brown burlap and the white rope from the Dollar Tree. And this is how it looks hanging in my entryway.
And again, if you don't have any of these shell wreath forms left over, be sure to check online. Probably Etsy, maybe even eBay might be a good source for these. I also saw them available on Amazon for a little bit more though.
I wanted to make like a fun, whimsical sign for summer. So I'm going to use one of these starfish. It's like a felt starfish they have at Dollar Tree in their summer aisle. And then 3 of the longshore living signs. I'm going to use 2 of the blue starfish ones and 1 of the white seashell ones. I want to combine all 3 together to make a giant, fun, colorful sign for my living room for summer. So I'm going to put them together like blue, white, blue, kind of alternate colors. And I want to include the starfish on there as well. So to start with, I'm just going to take the hanger off of the white sign and we can start working on this one. I'm going to leave it white, but I wanted to distress it, make it look really coastal, very coastal farmhouse vibe. So I am going to distress it, starting with the edges. And I just use my chunky brush from the Dollar Tree, just working in one direction, kind of all over. And I just kind of distress it until I'm happy with it. I do go like a lot more heavy distressing on the outer sides of it because I kind of want it to kind of give the illusion of some old boards side by side. I kind of want you to be able to see the sides. So kind of distressing all over, following that up with a baby wipe. And then I even go a little bit harder on the sides, just taking some antique wax by Waverly and a little makeup sponge and just kind of dragging that on the sides just to darken them a little bit more. Now, these are the blue starfish signs. These are nice long signs, so if you combine 3 of them together, you're going to get a pretty good size sign. Now, I kind of want to distress it, make it look coastal, beachy, so I'm going to mix a couple colors together. I think this is turquoise and ivory, and kind of distress it with a fun little turquoise blue color to see what that vibe kind of gives us. I'm trying to kind of match the color on the starfish. That was my reference. And that's what I'm going to distress this board with. So again, I start on the top and the bottom and working in one direction. Also getting the sides. I follow that up with a baby wipe until I blend it and distress it to my liking. And it just kind of breaks up the solid blue that's on that board. And I think it makes it look better. So we're going to do the same exact thing here with our other blue board. Because if Julie's doing a project, she's probably going to be distressing it, right? I can't lose the reputation. I got to distress it. But I think it looks cool. So I kind of put them together, kind of make sure that I'm getting like a pretty even distress. And I think they look pretty equivalent. Now I want to do blue, white, blue. It's going to be so big. It's going to be really hard to fit this all in my screenshot, but I think you get the gist here. So I have the starfish at one end and the seashell on the other. Gonna flip them all over so that I can attach them together. And you can use whatever you've got. I've got some of these little wood signs from the Dollar Tree. And so that's what I'm going to use. But you can use Dollar Tree rulers, really large popsicle sticks, whatever you've got. You just want something flat. And I wanted something long enough to go across all 3 signs to do like 2 little braces on the back. Just going to secure that sign to the back with some hot glue. And this one too. And I am avoiding like the cutout areas, of course. I don't want to block those. And glue them all together. So now we have a nice big sign. And that also helps to eliminate like any bowing that you might have if they're not all super flat. So let's flip this over. You can kind of see what we've got going on. And here is the little felt starfish from the Dollar Tree. It's like an aqua color with like that turquoise border, which it is glitter, which I don't really like, but we're going to make it work, right? So the first thing I am going to do is Mod Podge all over the back of this. Get it super wet with Mod Podge so that we can start gluing that down. I did put like a little cutting mat down first so that I'm not making a big mess here. But I wanted to kind of just saturate that as much as I could with the Mod Podge. Because I do not want this like peeling off or like sticking out a little bit. I'm going to want it to be really flat. Also going to Mod Podge the sign kind of all over the area that we're going to add the starfish. I kind of figure out, I kind of want it like off center like that. The shell side is the top. So I kind of want it like leaning to one side. So I kind of have it leaning to the right. And I'm just spreading out that Mod Podge a little bit so I don't have like an uneven matte finish on some parts of the board. And I'm also kind of sponging it on the top to make sure that the felt is completely saturated with that Mod Podge. And I give it a quick dry. It'll take a few minutes for that to completely dry on the felt. Now, this is one of the existing hangers for one of the signs, so I'm just going to put it back in the shell sign to make a little hanger for the top. Now, I did notice a little bowing at the bottom, and I'm just going to fix that with some of these little wooden dominoes from the Dollar Tree, just to secure them together a little bit, make it a little bit more stable. Now it's time to frame it out. I want to use some of this 6-foot nautical cotton rope from the Dollar Tree, and we can do a nautical coastal border. So this is really easy to do, and it gives a fun, like, nautical coastal touch to this and kind of makes it like a little bit of a thicker project, a little bit more substantial. So I'm just going to tie a knot like that, which makes a really cute little nautical touch there at the corner, but it also bends at like a 90-degree angle for a corner of my frame. So I'm just going to hot glue that down right there in the corner. And I left enough rope to do the bottom as well. I'm going to go down to this side, and then I'm also going to tie a knot here. And you're going to want to make sure that if it doesn't look the same as your other one, you're going to kind of want to reverse the knot that you did to make sure that everything kind of lays nicely. So I just knotted that corner and glued it down. We're going to keep doing that all the way around. Now, my rope was not long enough for another one, so I just cut it down to size right here. And we can start a new rope. Since this is such a big sign, I tie a knot to give me a knot for the corner like that. And it was kind of upside down, so I'm just going to reverse it. And I need the rope to be coming out from underneath like it should be, like it would have been if I would have been able to tie it. And so I just glue that together, cut off the end, and then I can glue that right on top of the raw edge of that rope and make it look like one continuous piece that I like tied it. And I keep moving around the frame like that. So now I have this corner piece left. I'm going to do the same thing here. Cut it down to size, glue that down, and then bring down that new rope along the side, tie a knot, and then attach that to that corner as well. And again, I kind of tied it upside down, so reverse that. Try to get it the right length. And I think that's going to look good because that's going to kind of hide it underneath like that. So trim that one down and glue that one in that corner. And we have a fun little rope border for this. This was just a fun, colorful sign. I thought it would be bright and fun for summer. And it was really easy to do. And this is how it looks hanging in my home. If you find that you don't get your rope quite tight enough, you could always kind of glue it down to the sides about halfway with just a dot of hot glue. It's going to help keep that in place. There's our fun little starfish sign. And it's a nice size for sure.
And the starfish is a summer sign. And again, I think any of the longboard signs would work for this.
Okay, the next DIY, I got one of these little round signs from the Dollar Tree to be the base for this for a couple shore living items, but this one was not glued down properly. I didn't notice it when I bought it, but I'm going to show you how you can fix it if this happens to you. I mean, it was rather noticeable. Now, getting it like unglued enough to get my spatula under there was challenging, but I'm just using my heat gun. And I was eventually able to get it under there. I'm not going to go all the way because it was so difficult to do that. I'm just going to go part of the way where I can glue that down where it should be. Originally, I kind of wanted to go all the way around and take all of the frames off and glue that on top of the canvas that I'm going to add to it. But since it was so hard to get even that little part up, we're just going to repair it and leave it in place. So I'm just going to glue that back down with some hot glue, stretching it out where it will be on the edge and not where it was before. You got to look for those things. Those frames on those signs are really cute, but sometimes I've noticed it on the square ones too. They're not always perfect. So I'm just going to touch it up a little bit. There is a little bit of a crack in there now. So I do put a little spackle in there to fill that up a little bit. The other thing I didn't really like about the sign was that the edges were kind of unfinished and painted kind of crazily. So I'm just going to go in there and take a makeup sponge and some ivory acrylic, and we're just going to touch that up all the way around the edges just to kind of give this a more finished vibe. And what I want to do is add an ocean scene to this and one of those octopus yardsticks to give you an idea of something you can make with the beautiful yardsticks from the shore living line at Dollar Tree. I also painted the front and the wood beads on the hanger with that ivory. And I think that looks pretty good. Now we're going to cover up the wood part on there. I want to use one of the shore living canvases, and I think we can just cut it to size. I'm just sanding around the inside of the frame because there was like a little bit of splinters happening on there just to smooth it all out. This is the ocean scene I'm going to use. They have several different ones, but I think this one's going to work out well. And I am just going to remove the canvas from this. I always like to save those sawtooth hangers because those are great. You can just nail that into another project you might have. And then using a razor blade, I'm going to cut on the outside of the staples to try to pop that canvas off. You do have to cut a couple times on the corners because they are kind of like folded there, and get that disconnected. I think I usually, cover square frames with canvases from the Dollar Tree, but I thought we would give a round one a try and see how it turns out, and I think it turned out really cool. So I want to cover just the back of it with that, leaving the frame in place. So I just sit it on there upside down where I want it to go, and then feeling with a pen, I just draw around right up against the inside of the frame so I'll know how to cut this out. And I'm going for like a coastal farmhouse vibe on this. So if it's not perfectly to the edges, I think it's going to be okay. I know some people go in there with some twine or rope to kind of glue in between, and you could totally do that as well. But I think we can make this work. I think that looks pretty good, so let's Mod Podge it down. I am going to do a rather thick layer of Mod Podge because we are gluing down that heavy canvas and I want it to stay in place. So once I get one coat on there, I do go on there with another coat to make sure it's nice and thick. And then we're going to just lay that on top of the Mod Podge, gluing that to the sign, which is a perfect little ocean background for that octopus. I'm just using like a baby wipe to kind of push that down, spread out some of the excess glue that might be seeping out around the edges. And I'm kind of okay with the edges that don't really have any canvas. I think it's going to make it look a little bit more rustic. Now, using my razor blade, I'm going to cut the canvas. You kind of have to feel where the groove is. There was 3 grooves on this one for 3 boards. I'm only going to do 2, just to kind of make it look like slatted boards. And so I'm just trying to find that groove, and I found like a little Cricut weeder was the best way to kind of find that, kind of mark it, so I'll know where to cut it. And then I'm just cutting it with my razor blade straight across. I'm going to skip like the center one, and then I'm going to do the same thing here with the one on the top. Just trying to find it, creasing that down a little bit with my Cricut weeder, and I'm doing this while it's still wet so that I can move the canvas if I need to. Once I get like them cut into 3 pieces, I can kind of slide it like that up and expose that area in between the boards. And I think that looks really cool. Just trying to get that on there even and spread that out. See how it looks like 3 boards with like painted with that beautiful ocean scene? I thought that would just give it like more of a rustic touch. Just make sure you cut in the right place there. I did way better on the top than I did on the bottom. Just making sure all of it's glued down, and then I'm going to go over the top of all of it with more Mod Podge to help seal that down. Now, normally I would distress that a little bit, but I really liked the scene of the ocean on there, so I think I'm going to leave it as is. Now, this is the little octopus, the yardstick that I thought would be fun to make a little sign out of. Now, normally these yardsticks are super easy to pull off, right? The little metal yardsticks with a little pliers, a little elbow grease. This one is attached kind of weird because it's attached to the octopus. It's also attached to one of the tentacles, and I just keep bending it back and forth. But it really did not want to go because it was still stuck to one of those tentacles, and I was trying really hard not to rip the tentacle off. So it fought me a little bit, but I just kept working at it until I got it off. And sorry about that, my camera died there for a second. But basically all you missed is I did get it off. And I started painting it with a combination of ivory acrylic with antique wax by Waverly, because I wanted to kind of have like a wood background to what we're going to do on it. And I didn't really like the way it was painted or the colors on there. I thought we could make it look a little bit better. So I painted that tan color. And then most octopuses are, I like orange octopuses, right? But I don't want it to be like bright orange. I think that's going to be too colorful. So I'm going to use just a chunky brush and some orange acrylic. I think this is like a pumpkin color. And I'm just going to distress it, because I want to bring out like all of the texture on the little tentacles of the octopus, his little 2 feet, his little eyes and stuff like that. And I definitely want him to have orange, but I just don't want it to be bright orange. I thought that was just going to be too much. So that brown color we did first just was a great undertone, I think, to that. And I just keep lightly dry brushing that all over until I like the way he looks. I did kind of mangle that middle tentacle there when I tried to get it off, but that's okay. It'll add to his character, right? And then I was thinking, do I want it in the center? Do I want it flat? Or do I want it to stick out a little bit more 3D? It is metal, so I just need to find a way to attach it now to the canvas and sign. I thought maybe if I had the tentacles going off the frame a little bit like that, that would look really cute. And that's what I ended up doing, was kind of just doing it to one side, kind of overlapping the frame for fun. But now I'm going to need something to kind of fill the space in between and kind of make it stick out a little bit. So we're just going to use one of those little Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree and glue that on the back of our octopus. And you're going to want to use lots of hot glue for that. Hot gluing to metal is not always ideal, but you can make it work. And then I'm going to use hot glue to glue that to our canvas. And I think this is really whimsical and sweet. We have a little octopus at the ocean, I think it looks really cute. Now I decided I wanted the little wood beads to have a little bit more color. So I'm going to distress it with just like a Caribbean blue color. Just kind of modeling that all over the wood beads, just leaving them attached. And it just kind of looks like they were blue at one time and they're all distressed now. And a lot of the paint has come off. But that was kind of the vibe I was going with. Just kind of wiping those with a baby wipe, just to provide a little color to the hanger, to kind of match that beautiful canvas. And here it is, our little octopus wall hanging.
And I noticed that the hot glue did not hold up on this. I did have to fix it with something stronger. So think like super glue E6000 for the metal. But you could really do this with any of the sea creature yard stakes that they had at the Shore Living line. If you have any of those left over, they're super cute. Now you have made it through 30 Dollar Tree Beach DIYs. Hopefully you got lots of crafting inspiration. It's kind of a challenge this year with no Shore Living. Very disappointed in Dollar Tree, but I think that we can make some substitutions and make a lot of these DIYs still work. Please let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, if you like watching individual shorter DIYs on your phone, and enjoy the final reveal.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
You got me feeling kinda crazy. You got me feeling like my head is spinning round. The way you look is so amazing, amazing. I could stare into your eyes for hours and hours. Everything is kinda hazy. We're just dancing in the dark in the flashing lights. I know you can't hear what I'm saying, saying. So I'm just gonna hold you closer. You take me higher when we're together. It feels like you set my whole world on fire. I know I want you, I know I need you here. You're around
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. It truly was a crafting marathon. And I'd also like to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members for your support. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Live Another Day, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, and Sarah Tratner. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. And if you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name, and a shout out in every video. I'd also love to see what you've been crafting. Be sure you are a member of our private Facebook group linked in the description of today's video. And I do have chapters included if you need to go back and watch a specific DIY, and links for subs as well. Now, would you like more coastal crafting inspiration? I've got you covered. Check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting.